What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories.
9FG. Chapter 110. Winner, Straw Hat Kid. Advertise here. In the face of non-member countries, the world government's methods have not been gentle. It can be seen from the history of Wano Kuni. World government's damage to this country is no worse than pirates. This is why, at this moment, Yamato and Jinbei joined forces. Moreover, although her brain is indeed relatively stupid, she has a single tendon. But the battle has been fought so far, Crocodile and their attitude can also be seen. The relationship between the Straw Hat Pirates and the Cross Guild has not reached the point of life and death. God's foot White Snake Drive. Yamato shouted in a low voice, turned into a white light in an instant, and appeared in front of Momoshiki in an instant. Who? Momoshiki drew out the famous sword Jin Kunlun, with the terrifying armament Haki wrapped around the famous sword, and cut it out with a single sword. However, at the moment of the collision, her expression suddenly changed. What a strong force. The terrifying impact lasted only a moment in the air, and Momoshiki's body was directly smashed into the ground by Yamato. Gion. Seeing Momoshiki being knocked into the ground, the T-Dolphin couldn't help but let out a worried cry. His somewhat stocky body stepped on Moonwalk and hit Yamato. Your opponent is the old man. Jinbei's majestic body stood in front of the T-Dolphin. Hi Sha Jinbei, you are not my opponent, get lost. Worrying about Momoshiki's comfort, the T-Dolphin roared and hit Jinbei directly. The tyrannical armament Haki was wrapped around his fist, and when he punched out, there was a violent wind pressure coming towards him. It can be seen how powerful this punch is. However, facing this punch, Jinbei didn't have the slightest fear, his eyes were calm, and Jongjung punched out peacefully. Murloc Karate, 30,000 Wajang fists. A blow that has been tempered and tempered, turned into a violent cyclone and spread out at this moment. Two streams of air that were almost visible to the naked eye emerged on the fists of 7, Jinbei and the T-Dolphin. How is this possible? The moment he took over, the T-Dolphin clearly felt something was wrong. How is this possible? How could a mere Hexia have such a powerful force? Boom. The violent air blast exploded in the air. The T-Dolphin staggered back and fell directly from the air to the ground. And Jinbei landed steadily. One collision, high and low judgment. The T-Dolphin is already very strong, but the strength of his substitute admiral is indeed far behind Admiral. Otherwise, Marine would not directly let Green Bull and Fujitora airborne Admiral directly, instead of putting Momoshiki and T-Dolphin on Admiral's position. And Jinbei's strength at the moment, after evolution, is extremely powerful, even compared with Admiral, it is at the same level as Admiral. Hexia Jinbei. There was no contempt on the T-Dolphin's face anymore, and the frivolous and wretched expression gradually subsided, and turned into an incomparably dignified expression. The Straw Hat Pirates, a pirate group full of monsters and variables, can always emerge one by one unexpected monsters. It's a little troublesome now. The T-Dolphin looked at Jinbei in front of him, his expression became ugly. Originally thought that the Straw Hat Pirates and the Crusaders would suffer from both sides. In fact, it really hurts both sides, whether it's the Straw Hat or Douglas Bullet, Roronoa and Mihawk. The opponent directly lost the 4 strongest combat forces. However, even so, the remaining power actually stopped them steadily. The power of the pirates must be too strong. And this is not a simple block. The opponent is really firmly suppressing them. Except for the balance of power confrontation on Mr. Yishao's side, all other places, including Pelusolino Admiral, were actually suppressed by Blackfoot. The T-Dolphin almost couldn't believe his own judgment for a moment. And on the other side, cough cough, coughing slightly, Momoshiki stood up from the broken ground. She looked solemnly at Yamato in the sky, that was obviously the transformation ability of the Zone Phantom Beast, as well as that strength and speed. A special race. Momoshiki couldn't help feeling a little numb. Special races, plus the top Zone Phantom Beast ability, plus that Haki, it is really difficult to deal with. That strength, even if it is not as good as Admiral, is not much worse. Why have I never heard of this kind of monster in Wano Kuni? It was simply Admiral-level existences gathered together. It seems that this plan is completely wrong judgment. Momoshiki couldn't help but smiled wryly. She has completely judged the situation of the entire battlefield. Marine has almost no chance of winning. The combat power of the opponent is a bit too terrifying. The weak Straw Hat and Bullet started their duel as if no one was watching. The Marine here has nothing to do with them. Unfortunately, it would be great if that fellow Huang Mu didn't act without authorization. Momoshiki thought to himself. But he is also very clear that even if Huang Mu is still there, they are still at an overwhelming disadvantage. Now on the other side, there are still many strong players who have not made a move. Phoenix Marco, Foil Vista, Fire Fist Ace, Diamond Jazzy, Crocodile, Tony Chopper. Each of these people has extremely strong strength, everyone can temporarily hold back Admiral-level combat power. When 2 or 3 join forces, Huang Mu will feel a little uncomfortable, let alone so many people. The plan this time is actually very good, taking advantage of the time when the Straw Hat Pirates and the Cross Guild are both wounded. They have Fujitora's Gravity Fruit ability, which can catch the opponent by surprise, and can also quickly evacuate. However, the real problem is that they underestimated the opponent's combat power. One is that Blackfoot Sanji was actually able to overwhelm Kizaru Admiral. The other one is the unknown Phantom Beast powerhouse in front of him, and Hexia Jinbei whose strength has almost reached Admiral level. With the addition of these two top combat forces, their plan can be declared a failure in an instant. But it's too shameful to retreat without a fight. Momoshiki took a deep breath, and the famous sword Jin Kunluo was in front of him, and his terrifying aura rose instantly. Heart Sword, Tianxin comprehends Taoism. With her eyes closed, Momoshiki slashed out, accompanied by the terrifying sword aura, and her whole body moved forward with the sword aura, and slashed straight at Yamato. Thunder 8 trigrams. Yamato doesn't have many moves. She has not contacted any moves. All she has is a level A. Relying on the ability of the Phantom Beast species Dako True God, relying on the terrifying power brought by the special race, he waved hard. The terrifying mace was mixed with purple thunder and lightning, completely smashing the sky full of sword energy with one blow. Then it hit Jin Kunluo unabated. Yamato's mace is unique. On the normal mace, there are sharp iron thorns, which can cause more powerful damage. However, on Yamato's mace, the spikes seem to be ground flat, with only round hemispherical protrusions. In reality, Yamato's intention was to deal less damage, since she's not one to fight. But with her strength, hitting people with such a mace has the same effect as Kaido's kind of hitting people with spikes. At most, the traces of injuries on the corpses were slightly different. Jin Kunluo instantly bent into an arc that made people's teeth ache. However, it was not the first time that Momoshiki underestimated the enemy. With Armament Haki's powerful sword skills, he firmly entangled Yamato. After all, she is the alternate admiral, the strongest existence under Marine's highest combat power. However, in this way, the positions and purposes of both of them seem to be reversed. Originally, Marine wanted to attack and took the opportunity to arrest a few key figures, but now it turned out that Marine held back the pirates. The reason is that the people they face are too strong. Suppress them firmly. It's really noisy. Bastards like Marine always like to take advantage of this kind of time. Bullet looked at the battle in the distance, and said disdainfully, that's how the end of the legendary era was. Bullet looked down on Marine. A person like him who pursues personal force hates Marine's way of besieging him very much. He has always been one to play several. And when Marine captures the legends of the old era who are active in the sea, they always like to dispatch more than two top powerhouses in one go. Especially the duo of Garp and Sengoku. The arrest of Burndy World, the arrest of the Golden Lion, the arrest of the Red Earl, and the arrest of him were all done by Sengoku and Garp. Otherwise, Marine would never have ended the legendary pirate era so easily. We don't need to take care of things over there, my partner will take action to block Marine. Luffy took a deep breath, stood up straight and said in a deep voice. Mate, what a weak word. Bullet sneered disdainfully. He hates the word partner. Too fragile, too easy to lose, it will only make people more confused. Partners are not weak. It's up to you. Everyone, whether it's Captain Luo Jia or Whitebeard, likes to say that. Bullet waved his hand indifferently and said, what I pursue is to be the strongest in the world alone, to challenge alone and beat the world's King of Lee. Don't lie. Since you look down on your partner, why are you so confused and painful in your heart? Why are you so relaxed when facing Uncle Rayleigh? What is the reason why you are here and can fight with me with such peace of mind? Isn't it because your partner is standing behind you? Luffy growled loudly. Those are not partners, but bastards who stand together for the sake of profit. Bullet was stunned for a moment, then roared furiously. But you don't think so in your heart. Luffy's sense of knowledge has thoroughly penetrated Bullet's inner emotions, and shouted loudly, you are longing for a partner, Bullet. You're 100 years too early to preach to me, Straw Hat. Inexplicably violent rage appeared in Bullet's heart, and he was instantly enveloped in a purple aura all over his body. It's a fusion of extremely full-bodied conquerors Haki and armament Haki. That's the state of terror that Bullet once sailed across the sea. Devil form. Bullet was originally hideous and terrible, plus he had no eyebrows. At this moment, his whole body is covered by purple Haki, more like a ghost crawling out of hell. This is why he is called the successor of the ghost. Straw Hat Kid. Bullet's figure disappeared in an instant, and a huge pothole was stepped on the spot. This is his devil state, this state. Under that, both his speed and strength had an explosive growth, strengthening his already terrifying physique technique to an unimaginable level. And in the face of Bullet's disappearing figure completely, Luffy lowered his head slightly, without any reaction at all, as if he was in a daze. Have you reached your limit? Straw Hat Kid. Bullet's figure continuously stepped on the air, and the terrifying speed made his figure flicker in the air. He was looking for Luffy's opening. But at this moment, Luffy is full of flaws in his eyes. It seemed that his physical strength was completely exhausted. You are a very good opponent, but today, I will accept the victory of this battle, Straw Hat Boy. Bullet's deep voice rang through the air. Then in the next instant, Bullet has appeared behind Luffy. In the devil form, the terrifying punch is punched straight, and the violent armed color and Conqueror's Haki are entwined on the fist. This is definitely a groundbreaking punch. The moment the fist was about to touch Luffy, Luffy dodged sideways like a prophet. Bullet's body, because of the empty punch, was directly presented in front of Luffy. Wake me up, Bullet. 11. Luffy roared and punched down. That punch wrapped in white steam. All the armament Haki and Conqueror's Haki wrapped around the fist and smashed hard into Bullet's face. Boom. Luffy landed with a punch. The entire earth was instantly cracked. When the smoke clears, Luffy slowly raised his hand from a large hole in front of him. The fist was full of blood. The white light dissipated, and Luffy had already retreated from the fifth gear. He took the straw hat behind his hand, gently patted the dust off it, put it on his head, and turned to leave. Bullet's face with a clear fist mark just fell into the big hole. At this moment, he looked at Luffy's back in a daze. He seemed to see the back of the man he had decided to follow all his life. Why are you so strong, Captain Luogia? Bullet was in a trance, as if he had returned to the ship more than 20 years ago, and asked Luogia this sentence. Because I want to protect my partner. A hearty voice sounded, and Bullet was in a trance. Seeing in front of him, Luogia's figure and the Straw Hat Boy's figure overlapped unexpectedly. There is no conflict between getting stronger and your partners, Bullet. Wait until you truly understand this, until you find something precious that you want to risk your life to protect. You can become stronger. Captain Luogia, am I wrong? In Bullet's eyes, for some reason, a tear dripped from the corner of his eye to the other eye king. Captain Luogia, why did you die? 5.1. What a stubborn guy. Feeling the change of Bullet's inner emotions behind him, Luffy couldn't help but sighed helplessly, but instead showed a big smile. He could feel that there was a change in Bullet's heart at this moment. Everyone, I won. Luffy dragged his heavy and tired body towards Usopp, Nami and the others, with a big smile on his face. I knew that you would never lose. Usopp laughed. As expected of our captain. Frankie gave a thumbs up and said loudly. Let me play the last song, The Winner's Guy. Brook held a violin, and his voice was low and full of magnetism. Thank you, Luffy. Nami showed a bright smile and spoke. Thank you, Robin said softly. I'll bandage your wounds, Luffy. Chopper had just treated the injuries of Zoro and Hawkeye, and hurried to Luffy. Did even that monster Bullet fail? What a monster, Straw Hat. Crocodile was smoking a cigar, looking at Luffy who was sitting cross-legged on the ground with Chopper bandaging his wound. His eyes were slightly dazed. A year ago, the other party was still a fledgling pirate. And now this strength is already so terrifying. What a monster's growth speed. Straw Hat Kid. Gecko Moria has a thin voice. If it is said that they were defeated, the gap between them is still very small, and the Straw Hats rely more on the shadow to become stronger. So the current Straw Hat Boy is completely above him. The kind of power that made him unable to see his back at all. This is embarrassing. Zoro, ha ha ha, to be beaten like this. In the process of being bandaged by Chopper, Luffy was restless. Looking at Zoro who was wrapped like a mummy, he couldn't help laughing. Chapter 111 Marine retreats and wins all round. Advertise here. Hey, Luffy, don't move around, the wounds are exploding. Chopper roared angrily, and Luffy obediently didn't dare to move for a moment. However, he is also a person who can't stay idle. After calming down for a while, he watched the battle in the distance again. That uncle's ability is so interesting, isn't it, Juan? Luffy watched Fujitora in the distance with interest. This blind uncle's inner emotions are very clean and benevolent, and people can't help but feel good about them just by looking at them. That should be an admiral-level powerhouse obtained by the world government's big conscription. In 2 days, there should be newspapers. Ace said from the side. Although there is no news yet, this matter should be certain. I don't know how long the battle between the 4 Emperors Pirates and Marine has been. I may not know much about Marine's mid-level combat power, but I still know very well about Marine's top-level combat power. It is impossible to say that a highest combat power popped out of thin air. The Fujitora that is appearing now is such an existence, with a stable admiral-level combat power. Apart from world conscription, Ace and Marco don't think there is another possibility. If you put it this way, the previous one should also be at the admiral level of Marine. As soon as Luffy knocked his fist, he suddenly realized. Another admiral. Everyone else was surprised. Of course, when I was fighting Bullet before, that big tree that appeared out of nowhere, don't you think his aura is very strong? He definitely won't lose to Admiral. Luffy said with a matter-of-fact look. Marco, Ace and the others all changed their expressions, a little dignified and a little embarrassed. It was too fast, it was resolved too quickly. I thought it was some vice admiral from Marine who was not afraid of death. Marco was speechless. Yeah, he was dealt with in an instant. I thought it was because he was too weak. Diamond Chows looked at Luffy in shock and said, you guys are already so strong. If there is no comparison, it can't be seen from the destructive power alone. After all, most of Luffy's attacks have been endured by the opponent, and the last blow is even more natural. But if there is a comparison that is spiked, even Admiral was killed in one blow, this feeling is very scary. In other words, the new Admiral recruited by the Marine World Conscript died like this. This is too unbelievable. 26 Nami said a little speechlessly from the side. Fortunately, the current Marine has not announced the appointment of the new Admiral to the world, otherwise, in the current situation, the land will be lost. No, it shouldn't be dead. Luffy thought for a while, then tilted his head and said, that guy's vitality is very strong, Although the blow just now severely injured him, he shouldn't be dead. Luffy's sense of knowledge is very keen. But at the time of the final battle with Bullet, he didn't put too much perception on Lusheng. He can only roughly confirm that the Green Bull is not dead, but he doesn't know where it went now. As expected, Marco and the others nodded. Even as the opposite, Marine Admiral is already the highest combat power after all. If such a person was really killed in one blow, the shock would be indescribable. If it's not dead, it should be normal instead. Admiral's level can be called a monster. Speaking of which, who is that guy? From the beginning, I wanted to say, is there such a person in the Cross Union? Luffy pointed at Yamato curiously and asked. This person gave him a very unusual feeling. It seemed that the aura extending from her fruit ability was actually a little similar to his fruit aura. Of course, not the current state. Rather, it is similar to his state after the 5th gear transformation in some respects. That is Yamato, Kaido's daughter, but, Yamato is a bit strange, because she worships Kazuki Oden, so she lives as Kazuki Oden now. Ace explained helplessly from the side. Although he himself is a weird person, after all, he often makes a strange appearance of falling asleep while eating. But he is still very helpless to Yamato. To some extent, this is a more single-minded existence than his younger brother Luffy, perhaps because Kaido has cultivated her completely as a tool. As a result, she doesn't have much of her own personality and dreams, so now, she completely fits into Kazuki Oden's template. Of course, this is Ace's own speculation, and he can't figure out what Yamato's magical brain circuit is thinking. Yamato. What a weirdo. Luffy didn't call Yamato by Kazuki Oden, but by her real name. It's time for a relaxed conversation here. The battle over there has already begun to completely panic. 8-foot Chong Guyu. Kizaru crossed his hands, and the bright light on his fingers exploded into countless bright spots of light. The dense dots of light with strong penetrating power pushed Sanji back easily. The top-level Logia fruit ability is really hard to deal with. Sanji stepped on the moonwalk, flashing rapidly in the air, avoiding the light spots shot by Kizaru. Sparkling Fruit is indeed a very powerful Logia fruit ability. He can guarantee a slight suppression of Kizaru in one-on-one, but Kizaru's large-scale attack ability is completely beyond his current ability. Although he can also use Armament Haki and Slash Wave from his feet to achieve the effect of range attack. But compared with the top-level Logia ability, it is half the effort. And Kizaru's large-scale penetrating attack, even if he has armed color coverage, he doesn't want to hard block it. The battle with the Straw Hat Boys is over, and this operation has completely failed. Kizaru had given up all chance in his heart. In this operation, they completely miscalculated the opponent's combat power, which was the reason for their complete failure. It's really troublesome. The Green Bull guy doesn't know where he is, but now he can only retreat. Kizaru's tone is wretched, but his heart is heavy. The plan failed, which was expected. To be honest, the calculation of this plan is very likely to fail, but the reason why this plan is implemented is because of Fujitora's ability. They have a high possibility of retreating unscathed. Even if you don't succeed, you have nothing to lose. And the fuse of the matter is because the Green Bull was killed by Straw Hat and Bullet in one hit, and that's why Kizaru and Sanji fought for so long. Because the Green Bull must be rescued. Otherwise, if one admiral is lost, Marine will be at a loss for this operation. But to this extent, the Green Bull is nowhere to be seen, and the fight with the Straw Hats is over. Kizaru knew it was necessary to retreat. Otherwise, wait until the Straw Hat Boy recovers a little bit of physical strength, with his combat power, plus the remnants of the Whitebeard Pirates and the powerful combat power of the Cross Guild. Even if they have the ability of Fujitora, it is not easy to retreat. Kizaru is the oldest of the Marine Admirals. The ability is also very strong. Although he is extremely wretched and careless on weekdays, but when it comes to the critical moment, he will never lose the chain. When it breaks, it breaks. After Kizaru forced Sanji away, he stretched out his hands quickly, and a golden light beam shot out from his hands. Oops. A red light flashed in Sanji's eyes, and he saw a short future. His figure stepped on a violent air burst and disappeared in an instant, and he came directly in front of Kizaru, and kicked out with the demon god wind, but it was a moment late. Kizaru's figure turned into light and appeared in the distance in an instant. If the Sparkling Fruit's ability user wants to escape, it is impossible for anyone to catch up. Kizaru didn't raise his spirits in most of the battles before, which made his moves always slow. Sparkling Fruit's speed is definitely the fastest, and what restricts his speed is his speed before he activates his ability. There is no doubt that the current Kizaru is fully engaged. Have you ever been kicked by the speed of light? Kizaru's voice resounded in the distance for an instant. World frowned. Momo is 100 times faster, and travels alone at airspeed. Boom. The huge sonic boom cloud spread radially, and World's body instantly disappeared in place. Kizaru kicked out, and the golden light beam formed an orange-red hemispherical explosion light wave on the spot. Mr. Smile. Kizaru closed in front of Fujitora, and said in a low voice, "Please. Leave it to the old man." Fujitora opened his eyes with only the whites of his eyes open, and held his staff and sword in front of him. Gravity Earth Cry. Fujitora shouted in a deep voice. He held the scabbard with one hand, and with the other hand pulled out the stick knife slightly with a ray of cold light. In an instant, the ground with a radius of several kilometers trembled, as if it was making a dull cry. What is this? Jinbei smashed the T-dolphin away with a fist, and looked at the ground with a solemn expression. The ground was trembling, and those crushed earth and rocks were beating slightly. This phenomenon was very strange. Did Mr. Yishao take action? This time the action really failed. The T-dolphin looked a little ugly, looking at Jinbei in front of him. Jinbei, I remember you are very strong. What exactly is going on? Jinbei also wanted to ask the T-dolphin in front of him. However, the next moment, the ground under his feet instantly split open. Countless earth and rocks lifted into the sky, almost obscuring all sights. Jinbei stepped on the ground, and the surrounding ground suddenly stopped, and then calmed down. Only the T-dolphin in front of him, accompanied by countless huge earth and rocks, flew into the sky. Same goes for Momoshiki on the other side. Yamato, who was in the state of Dako Junction, looked at the surrounding earth and rocks inexplicably, and the cold air spread under his feet, freezing all the earth and rocks in place. What on earth is this? Ha ha ha, interesting, what is this? Luffy laughed, and the earth and rocks in front of him were suspended in the air. He jumped up and down on the earth and rocks, just like in the Sabaody archipelago, jumping on those soap bubbles until the sky. This is too exaggerated. Marco and the others opened their mouths. Is this the strength of Marine's new admiral? No one can keep calm under this scene, except Luffy. This living stone almost completely covered the entire sky, as if the entire land of Wano Kuni was suspended out of thin air, covering the sky. The ground where they are now has been completely enveloped by shadows. Everyone of the Straw Hat Pirates, see you next time. Kizaru's voice echoed in the sky. After a while, the huge earth and rocks fell slowly, gently landing on the ground. In addition to the broken ground, no harm was done. That uncle is really a nice person. Luffy sat on the broken ground, giggling. Manipulating all this is the blind man admiral who uses a stick knife. From the very beginning when observation Haki felt his emotions, he could feel the justice and courage in his heart, which was different from many strong marines. Now it seems that he has benevolence and righteousness in his heart. Otherwise, they would choose to let these unpredictable thousand stones fall directly from the sky. Although with Luffy's strength, the fall of these earth and rocks will not cause much damage. But the choice is different, you can see a person's true character. In the sky outside Wano Kuni. The plan has failed completely, Mr. Sengoku. Kizaru said while holding a phone bug. Naval headquarters is connected on the other side of the phone bug. It's normal for the plan to fail. The success rate of this plan is not high, as long as you can evacuate safely. Sengoku comforted from the phone bug's side. After all, they are small and big, and the strength of the Straw Hat Pirates and the Cross Union is too strong. If there is no harm to both sides, it is unlikely to miss it. Faced with Sengoku's comfort, Kizaru fell silent. What's the matter? Pelusilino, didn't you evacuate as planned? Feeling Kizaru's silence, Sengoku's voice lowered slightly. The strength of the pirates is frighteningly strong now, and their marines are not strong enough, so they can no longer have any losses. The plan this time has gone through many deliberations. With the strength of Kizaru and the others, plus the ability of Fujitora, the success rate of complete evacuation is very high, so Sengoku will carry out this plan. Times planned. How is it now? Who folded it there? Whether it's the alternate admiral or admiral, this is an unbearable loss. Who is it? Sengoku's voice suppressed anger. It's Wangmu. Kizaru paused and said. That guy underestimated the enemy, so he was killed by Straw Hat and Bullet in one blow. We couldn't find his body, and now we don't know his life or death. To tell the truth, if the Green Bull didn't underestimate the enemy, and didn't rush forward directly, almost defenseless, and took the full blow of Bullet and the Straw Hat Boy. With his admiral-level strength, and his fruit ability with extremely strong life-saving ability. It really won't be killed in one hit. It can only be said that as a fledgling, he has never hung out in the dangerous sea before, and only met some young people, which made him a little swollen. It is true that Admiral is the highest combat power, Admiral is very strong and a monster. But in the Sea of New World, there is never a shortage of monsters, and monsters stronger and more terrifying than Admiral emerge in endlessly. Whether it's the Straw Hat or Bullet, they are all monsters of this level. That guy, Sengoku felt stuck in his heart. It really is a green bull. That guy Aramaki, his character is too frivolous. Conceited, rash. Although he believes in Sakazuki's absolute justice, he doesn't have Sakazuki's composure. Now it really happened to him. That, Huang Mu, he is not dead yet. Fujitora was at the side, interjecting somewhat honestly. Then he stretched out his wide and thick palm. I found this among the earth and rocks of Wano Kuni, and brought it back. Fujitora spread his palms. In the palm is a seed. Momoshiki also laughed and praised. It's good if you don't die, you go back to the headquarters first, and the details will be discussed after you return to the headquarters. As long as Admiral is not lost, it is a good thing. With Admiral's physical fitness, as long as he is not disabled, he can recover easily. He's not dead yet. As expected of you, Mr. Yishao, you have been of great help. It's just that although he didn't die, it is obvious that in this state, he has been completely injured and comatose, otherwise, he would have been conceived from the seed state long ago. The smell of the seeds is very faint. Although he is very dissatisfied with the Green Bull, he is not willing to let the Green Bull just fold in Wano Kuni. This may be his ability. Sengoku also heard the conversation here, and said with a sigh of relief. But everyone here is an admiral-level existence. When Kizaru perceives this seed with the color of knowledge, he obviously found something wrong. Mr. Yishao, it's really reliable. Kizaru couldn't help admiring Fujitora. Fujitora saved the green bull, that's awesome. Logia is a dense fruit, and it really has a hand in saving lives. Kizaru nodded in response, and hung up the phone bug in his hand. Yes, Mr. Sengoku. This is the breath of wild animal husbandry. Chapter 112 The Power of the Straw Hat Cross, Sengoku is numb. Advertise here. Everything is afraid of comparison. Compared to the staid and reliable Fujitora. A guy like Green Bull, who was rash and conceited, and was instantly killed when he went up, fell by more than 1 grade in an instant. Just count the role of Fujitora. From the initial suspension of warships, to holding Burndi World, to the final evacuation, and rescue of the Green Bull. It can be said that Fujitora's role in this operation is many times higher than that of Green Bull. No, this is just what the old man should do. Everyone's praise made Fujitora scratch his head with a simple smile. The key is that everyone knows that he is not pretending to be simple and honest, but with a smile, he is really the kind of simple and honest person with benevolence and righteousness in his heart. That's why, in just a few days, Fujitora, who obviously does not have any qualifications in Marine, can gain the favor of most Marine executives. How could it be possible for a strong man whose fruit ability is at the strategic level, who is very strong, and who feels very comfortable in the world, not to be respected by others? A day later, Kizaru and the others returned to naval headquarters smoothly from the Red Line. Tell me, what's wrong with this plan? In the marshal's office, Sengoku looked at the few people in front of him. Kizaru, Fujitora, Momosuge, T. Dolphin. Huang Mu was not there. Because of the previous battle, he was seriously injured. It can be said that if it is not the ability user of the Logia Sensen fruit, the life-saving ability is very strong. He might really die in Wanokuni this time. However, as long as Huang Mu is not dead, he can recover slowly. What Sengoku wants to know more is the reason why the Wanokuni plan failed this time. Just look at the simple conversation before. The reason why this operation failed seems to be due to additional factors. Originally, according to the plan, once the Straw Hat Pirates and the Crusaders fight for both sides, they will take the lead with 3 admirals and 2 alternate admirals. Enough to get some results. Now it seems that the other party is really hurting both sides, but this side has not been able to achieve any results, but almost folded the Green Bull into it. The reason for this has to be investigated by Sengoku. That's right, Mr. Sengoku. As the main person in charge of this plan, Kizaru said at the moment, when we went this time, the timing was already very good. Roronoa Zoro and Haki have lost both, and the 2 have completely lost consciousness. The Straw Hat also fought very fiercely with Bullet and was seriously injured. Oh, in this case, the timing is very good. Although it is not as good as the best situation calculated between us, it is already very good. Sengoku asked with some doubts. The best result calculated by the headquarters staff before is Straw Hat and Bullet fight to the point where they are basically out of combat. Roronoa and Haki fought to the point where they were basically knocked out. Blackfoot Sanji and World fought to the point of losing their combat effectiveness. These are the 3 strongest strengths of the Straw Hat Pirates, and the 3 strongest strengths of the Cross Guild. If it hits this level, the remaining Whitebeard remnants and the remaining strong members of the Cross Guild will not be able to block the attack of Admiral in hand plus the 2 alternate admirals. This can even wipe out the Straw Hat Pirates and the Cross Guild. And even without this, the Straw Hat Boy, Bullet, Roronoa and Haki, the 4 top fighters lose their fighting ability. With the strength of Kizaru and others, it is enough to block the remnants of Whitebeard and Black Sanji and others. Then, taking advantage of the chaos, 1 or 2 top fighters may be arrested. In this case, it will also make a lot of money. At least it wouldn't be said that the Green Bull was almost folded inside. That's the problem. That guy Aramu was too conceited, and he read the last ultimate blow of the Straw Hat Boy's fight with Bullet by himself. Kizaru couldn't help but said helplessly. Bullet and the Straw Hat Boy have been fighting for a long time, accumulating strength for a long time, and when the final decision was made, Aramu rushed up, and the result was that he was hit and almost died on the spot. Kizaru has no friendship with Aramaki, on the contrary he hates this arrogant and frivolous man very much. So there is no need to speak well of Aramu's mistakes in front of Sengoku. Sengoku couldn't help covering his head. He felt the veins in his forehead thumping. Straw Hat Boy, Bullet, these 2 monsters standing on the top of the sea, each of them is a 4 Emperors level existence. Such a person fights until the last moment to deliver the strongest blow. And it was shot at the same time, which is equivalent to the strongest blow of 2 people working together. How terrifying is this level of attack? That was the decisive blow at the 4 Emperors level. At the Admiral level, if you hit someone unprepared from the front, you may lose your combat power instantly. If you are unprepared, you will be hit by 2 hits, and you will not die on the spot. Good guy, one of the highest combat power was lost at the beginning. No wonder the plan failed. The opponent's combat power was already very strong. Now lose an Admiral level. Blackfoot is absolutely capable of holding Kizaru, and World holding Kuohu. The remaining 2, Momosuke and T-Dolphin, have to face Crocodile, Phoenix Marco, Fire Fist Ace, Foil Vista, Diamond Josie, Tony Chopper and other top players under the Four Emperors Admiral. Bye. One can imagine, when these people team up, the two admirals will find it very difficult to deal with, let alone the two alternate generals. It is strange that this plan does not fail. I see. Quote. Sengoku pinched his brows with some headaches, he waved his hands tiredly. Thank you for your hard work, let's go down and rest for a while. Sengoku's desire to retire grew stronger. He felt that if this continued, he would die of a headache sooner or later. He also wants to be like Garp, fishing easily all day long. Even the pirates have entered a new era, and the Marines should have let the old guys go down and have a good rest. You know, he is over 70 this year, and he should have retired long ago. However, Kizaru did not choose to leave, he said to Sengoku with a serious expression. I have more important things to report about the Straw Hat Pirates and the Cross Guild. What? Sengoku looked at Kizaru's solemn face, and he had a premonition that what Kizaru was about to say was definitely not good news. Still, he gestured to Kizaru to speak up. The strength of the Straw Hat Pirates and the Cross Guild may be stronger than we imagined. Kizaru said with a serious face. He remembered the previous fight with Blackfoot Sanji. The strength of Blackfoot Sanji has been greatly improved. Compared with the Summit War, his physical fitness is stronger, his combat experience is more sophisticated, and his observation haki. If I'm not wrong, he should have stepped into the legendary realm, the realm that can predict the future. Kizaru's own observation haki is actually very strong, although he is always criticized by his teacher Jifa for relying too much on the ability of sparkling fruit. But in fact, in order to match the extreme speed of sparkling fruit, his observation haki is definitely the top few in the sea. However, during the fight with Sanji, he could clearly feel that all his actions were seen through, which is why he was suppressed by Sanji. No matter how fast his speed is, when all his futures are seen through, his speed advantage is already very large. Blackfoot Sanji, he has been able to suppress me, facing him, I don't have any confidence. Kizaru rang out the fighting process, and said with a sigh. Black-legged Sanji, has he evolved to this level? Sengoku also had a serious face. Holding Admiral, and suppressing Admiral, these are two completely different levels of combat power. In terms of bounties, that's the difference between more than 1 billion and more than 3 billion. Of course, Blackfoot Sanji's previous bounty was slightly lower. With his combat power in Summit War, he should be above the 25th place. Just because of some problems, the setting is a little lower. Now, there is no doubt that it should be more than 3.5 billion bounties. There is also Roronoa Zoro. Although he and Hawkeye were both unconscious when we went, but if he draws with Hawkeye by virtue of his own strength, then his strength should also have a terrible improvement. Kizaru reminded. It's all Shichibukai though, but Hawkeye is recognized as the strongest existence in Shichibukai. The monster who has been tied with the Four Emperors' red-haired Shanks several times, if not for some special reasons, they would not be able to recruit Hawkeye to become Shichibukai. I already have the exact information, the information from the CPO. Talking about this, Sengoku feels a little tired. CPO's intelligence agents were lurking in Wanokuni earlier than Kizaru and the others. He witnessed the whole battle process. Roronoa, he fought with Hawkeye alone, their strength is already at the same level, maybe they should be called the 10th greatest swordsman in the world. Sengoku sighed helplessly. Hawkeye's bounty is 3.9 billion berry. Roronoa's bounty should also be increased from 2 billion berry to almost this value. Just for these two people, the bounty has increased by almost 4 billion. You know, less than a month has passed since the Summit War. The bounties of the second and third leaders of the Straw Hat Pirates have increased by leaps and bounds. As for the bounty of Captain Straw Hat Boy, there is no need to increase it. His bounty is already very high, surpassing the Four Emperors and second only to Luo Jia. Although he beat Bullet and Four Emperors Big Mom. But his bounty is maxed out at this level. The next time the bounty is raised, I am afraid it will be time for him to become the One Piece. Of course, if he can directly hit Mariajoy, the bounty may be increased a lot. But this is almost impossible. Even Luo Jia, the original One Piece, couldn't do this. The background of world government ruling the world for 800 years is beyond the imagination of pirates. I also have something to report, Mr. Sengoku. Momosuke and T-Dolphin said at the same time. Say it, tell it all, if there is any bad news, you can tell it up, anyway, I will not be the Marine Marshal soon. Sengoku waved his hand, beckoning them. The battle between Kuzan and Sakazuki has begun. If the outcome can be determined, then he can immediately retire from this position. He can finally be freed. In fact, Sengoku has been feeling less energetic recently. The sea situation he is facing now is even more troublesome than in the old days. Although it was said that there were many pirates in the old days, they did not form power, because Luo Jia's great pirate era gave birth to too many pirates, so the current pirates are too powerful. Coupled with the existence of the Revolutionary Army, the current sea is really turbulent. And he no longer has the energy of his youth. Momosuke and the T-Dolphin looked at each other, and they felt that Mr. Sengoku in front of them seemed a bit rotten. But after thinking about it, the T-Dolphin was the first to speak. Jinbei, the seaman who just joined the Straw Hat Pirates, is suspected to have admiral-level strength, and he was also at the same level as Blackfoot Sanji during the Summit War. The T-Dolphin said, his strength is already at the substitute admiral level, but when facing Jinbei, he has already fallen into a disadvantage. And most importantly, he could feel Jinbei's powerful pressure, and he had no hope of defeating it. Continue to fight, defeat is also a matter of time. What I want to say is that it seems to be a Phantom Beast ability user from the Cross Guild. She is a tall woman with 2 sharp horns on her head. She should be of a special race. And her fruit ability is the fruit ability of the Zone Phantom Beast species. After transformation, her physical fitness is very strong, and Haki is not weak. It should be at the admiral level of combat power. Momosuge said, she feels about Yamato the same way she feels about fighting Jinbei. It's the feeling of being invincible and being completely suppressed, that's definitely admiral level combat power. Sengoku's expression was already on his face. Are you saying that we completely underestimated the combat power of the Straw Hat Pirates and the Cross Guild? They each have an additional admiral level combat power. Momosuge and the T-Dolphin looked at each other and nodded. Sengoku sighed. Obviously, the admiral level combat power is already the highest combat power of Marine and world government. This is not Chinese cabbage. But who can tell him, for a short period of time? The Straw Hat Pirates and the Cross Guild actually each had an additional admiral level combat power. You know, the reason why they were so strong before was because there were 3 admiral level fighters in a pirate group or pirate alliance. Straw Hat Pirates, Straw Hat Kid, Roronoa, and Blackfoot Sanji. Crusader Unions Burndy World, Douglas Bullet, and Hawkeye. It is because of these 3 admiral levels, or even above the combat power, that they can defeat the veteran 4 Emperors pirate group. But now, they are no longer 3, but 4 heavenly generals. If you don't count the strengthening of the older generation of Marine, good, the top combat power of the Marine in the new era is almost only this amount. And this is the overall combat power of Marine. The opponent is just a pirate group in the pirate alliance. The expansion of the current pirate power is unimaginable, and Sengoku can't understand it. Perhaps it really is that the legendary era is coming. The era of great pirates that Luogia set off before his death finally exploded into a jaw-dropping force after 20 years. Think carefully. The group of the Revolutionary Army was also formed after the era of the great pirates. If the Revolutionary Army is also regarded as pirates. In the sea at this moment, there are as many as 4 pirate forces with the ability to subvert the world. I see. I will report these matters to the higher authorities. Go back and have a rest. Sengoku sighed helplessly. He doesn't want to worry about these things anymore. The changes in the new world are obviously beyond Marine's control. Only by making the people above aware of the seriousness of the problem can it be possible to overcome the chaotic and powerful situation of New World. Marine's current combat strength, facing any pirate force, is a bit difficult to tell the truth. I don't know what the people above think. After everyone left, Sengoku murmured softly. The original execution Fire Fist Ace was the request of the 5 elders above. They seem to be eager to deal with the current pirates, which is completely different from the previous steady and forward attitude. Suddenly became aggressive. After the failure of the Summit War and the current chaos in New World, they seem to have no good solution. This fact makes Sengoku somewhat puzzled. The impact of Summit War is so huge that it has completely unleashed this era. If the above does not take measures, then the problem is really very serious. I hope the higher-ups can make a move as soon as possible. Sengoku sighed and said in a low voice. The above definitely has the strength to end everything. After all, they have the kind of power emperor who can destroy large islands in an instant, which can be called a god. Chapter 113 The New Martial Fights, Yamato Boards. Advertise here. It's time for the latest bounty to be released, the news of the world's big conscription, and the new marshal in a few days. There are so many things to do, I really want to retire soon. Sengoku's complaining voice echoed in the marshal's office. But now no one listened to his complaints. Zephyr is out hunting pirates. That bastard Garp must have sneaked back to East Blue for vacation again, he's the only one who's still working. I don't know, what's going on with Sakazuki and Kuzan? Sengoku thought to himself. The war between Kuzan and Sakazuki started a few days ago. It was originally planned to be Punk Hazard of New World, but because New World is too dangerous now. So the battlefield is on a small island in the Calm Belt. Since Vegapunk developed the technology for warships to sail on Calm Belt, Marine has also started to explore and develop Calm Belt. It's just because this time it's a life and death showdown that both sides agree on. So there are no Marine spectators. As said before, the winner becomes the Marine Marshal, the loser is speechless. Who can be silent? Of course, including the dead. Includes all Marine high-rises. They only need to recognize the winner who came out of that small island, and they will not have any objection to the life and death of the loser. This is the cruelty of the sea. Even Marine is the same. Duel between men, no one else can intervene. Calm Belt. Kosaluk Island. This is also a large island. It was originally a relatively deserted island, with no vegetation or life. At this moment, it has completely turned into 2 poles. The crimson magma is one pole, and the extremely cold blizzard is another pole. Lava, great eruption, ice, Pheasant. Huge fists of lava erupted from Akainu's arms like hills. A huge ice bird the size of a warship took shape in an instant in front of Aokiji and swooped towards Akainu. Hot and cold. Two terrorist forces with completely opposite nature erupted instantly. The terrifying fluctuations spread for a kilometer in an instant. Thick high-temperature steam rises. Meteor volcano. Akainu let out a low growl. His two arms instantly turned into two piles of magma, continuously ejecting huge fists of magma into the sky. A moment later, huge magma fists fell from the sky like raindrops, and each meteor-like magma fist was more than 10 meters long. Hitting the ground, an extremely terrifying magma wave erupted. Ice time. Facing the lava meteors all over the sky, Aokiji just waved his hand with 177. It was as if an invisible barrier had appeared between the sky and the earth. Any magma meteor that hit the barrier was instantly frozen into ice cubes, or even directly into pieces. That barrier also expanded at an extremely fast speed. In an instant, the extremely cold barrier spread like an invisible shock wave, turning a large area of magma into ice. Anyone who sees this scene at this moment can't help but be shocked by the horror of this battle. The strength of the top Logia fruit ability user was fully demonstrated in this battle. The terrifying combat power like a natural disaster is enough to make anyone feel afraid. The entire Kosalik Island, a large island on the Calm Belt, has completely changed its terrain at this moment. It became half magma, half blizzard extreme weather. Even the whole sky is half crimson, generally in a state of dark clouds and snow. It makes people feel awe. This battle has lasted for 4 days and 4 nights. But until now, Akainu and Aokiji's physical strength is still abundant and frightening. These two strengths are extremely close, and their fruit abilities are diametrically opposed, but they are two top admiral powerhouses who are close in power. At this moment in this battle, he has played the most vividly. Moreover, in this full-scale life and death battle, they all seem to be undergoing transformation. Wanokuni Island. This used to be Kaido's territory, but now it has been completely occupied by the Crusaders. Delicious, a lot of meat. Luffy is eating meat with big mouthfuls. It's not elegant eating at all. Crocodile was smoking a cigar, just looking at Luffy with a speechless face. He is obviously such a fool-like character, why does he have such terrifying strength? Crocodile is really puzzling. Beside Luffy, Bullet was also eating meat like a reincarnated starving ghost. There is still a gauze on his face, which is the punch mark Luffy punched on his face, which has not dissipated yet. The current Bullet has less madness on his body. Although his face was still terrifying like a ghost in hell, it was already much better. I still decided to continue to challenge the strong in the sea, but in the process, I plan to find the crew members of the Luogia pirates. Bullet bit the flesh in his mouth vigorously, and muttered. He chases the strongest heart and will not change because of Luffy's defeat. Chasing the strongest is still his greatest life dream and the meaning of his existence. It's just that, now in pursuit of the strongest goal, CGDI, he has a little more, that is a partner. He wanted to take another look at those partners who had created beautiful memories with him for 2 years on the Luogia pirate ship. Even after the disbandment of the Luogia pirates, the Tianya Cape was lost. You can go to Uncle Rayleigh, he should be very happy to see you now. Luffy kept stuffing the meat in his mouth. And Luffy knew that Futura also wanted to be able to visit those old friends. When talking about Dr. Crocus in Twin Gorges, Rayleigh clearly expressed his thoughts in this regard. Rayleigh, I see. Bullet nodded, and then showed a crazy smile, but there is a high probability that he will not choose to be with me. Because, this time I want to challenge the entire Marine, I want to reveal my whereabouts, and then fight out in the full siege of Marine. Bullet laughed. Like a madman. This kind of crazy plan, in the whole sea, is indeed only Bullet can do it. However, his chances of success are still very high. In the current sea, the sea is undoubtedly dominated by the Marine. Here we are talking about the first half of the Grand Line and the 4 seas. But it is also very simple to escape the pursuit of Marine. In the air and under the sea, just control any one. Golden Lion controlled the air, so he was able to challenge Marineford with impunity. And Bullet can be regarded as controlling the bottom of the sea. The submarine he built with the combined fruit is already very advanced. If you can't beat it, it's enough to avoid Marine's pursuit. After all, he is not what he used to be now, he wants to leave with his current strength, even if Garp and Sengoku join forces, they may not be able to stop him. You really are a crazy guy. Luffy was eating the meat, looking at Bullet speechlessly, he naturally knew that this guy was serious. That's why he felt crazy. With his personality, he would not take the initiative to provoke Marine. After all he wants is adventure, not fighting and killing all day long. The current atmosphere of the Straw Hat Pirates and the Cross Guild is not bad. After all, the two sides have not reached the point of killing life and death. Moreover, although many of them were enemies in the past, that has passed after all, and the conflict between the two sides has not reached the point of irreconcilability. At most, Luffy and Crocodile and Gecko Moria don't like each other. As for the old man world, to be honest, he doesn't have much contact with young people like them. Yamato ate the meat in his hands vigorously, without any signs of eating. It's just that she is eating a little casually at the moment. If you observe carefully, you will find that her eyes have been focused on Luffy, and she is thinking about something. A room behind the Onijima ballroom. Damn it, these bastards are making a lot of noise. Zoro, who had been in a coma for a day and a night, opened his eyes. His whole body was covered with bandages. The serious injury made him only able to move his eyeballs. By his side, Hawkeye had already opened his eyes. In that final swordsman duel, although they were also severely injured and unconscious. But the degree still varies. Even if Zoro fully transformed into a black sword and broke through the limit of his own swordsmanship, compared to Hawkeye who has been the #1 swordsman in the world for so many years. He's still a little off. Of course, this gap has been so small that it is almost negligible. Because of the real life and death fight, the last blow, Hawkeye can't be called a victory. They are indeed a tie. It's just that his swordsmanship is more sophisticated and his physical fitness is stronger, so Hawkeye suffers slightly less damage than Zoro. You're awake, Roranoa. Hawkeye was also wrapped in bandages like a rice dumpling, only the eyes could move all over his body. His tone was full of nostalgia and satisfaction. What an amazing sword, your sword, I will never forget it in my life. I can't remember how long, I haven't experienced such a hearty swordsmanship duel. It's so lonely to be the only one in the way of the sword. It's a long-lost satisfaction to have an opponent. Sorry, I can't understand your emotions at all, after all, I have never reached the position of the world's #1 swordsman. Zoro whispered. For him, the fact that he woke up slower than Hawkeye meant that he had already lost this duel. For others, this is not a gap at all, he can still be called the world's #1 swordsman, the kind that is tied with Hawkeye. But for Zoro, a gap is a gap, not even the slightest. Because the will he wants to carry out, the voice he wants to make in the position of the world's #1 swordsman, is to that friend in heaven. Absolutely cannot have the slightest gap. I lost, you are still the #1 swordsman in the world, but I will continue to challenge you in the future. Zoro said firmly. This is the promise I made. You really are a weirdo. Hawkeye heard the determination in Zoro's tone, he would not accept the tied victory brought about by such a battle, or the negligible gap. However, I don't dislike this character. As a swordsman, Roranoa, you are really a born swordsman. Is this a condescending evaluation from the world's #1 swordsman? You think so? Hawkeye smiled. Roranoa Zoro, the funny young man, it seems that the rest of his life will not be so boring if he has this opponent as his companion. He's a better opponent than Shanks, a purer swordsman. No doubt, and he was one of a kind. Hawkeye thought with a satisfied look. However, after waiting for half an hour to pass. So awkward. These 3 words were deeply engraved in the minds of Zoro and Hawkeye. They seemed to be completely forgotten existences, in the back room of this banquet hall, listening to the joyful sound of the banquet in front. The 2 of them were seriously injured and could only stay here motionless like Zongzi. The most important thing is that they can all feel the sobriety of the people next to them. But both of them are the kind of people who don't like to talk and are taciturn. If it was a swordsmanship duel, they could fight for a day, but staying here immobile like this is simply embarrassing. Oh, you 2 are awake, hello, hello, hello. Perona's illusory body pierced through the wall and appeared in this room, looking at Zoro and Hawkeye who were silent with their eyes open, and said with a surprised smile. Hey, ghost girl, call me Chopper. Zoro shouted loudly. What, Roranoa, why do you dare to yell at the Honorable Master Perona, please humble me a little more. With an imp-like grin on Perona's face, a dejected ghost passed straight through Zoro's body. Although this body can't kneel down to the ground now. But Zoro's face was still depressed. I'm a bug, Master Perona, trample me to death, I'm just wasting air alive. Halo halo halo. Watching Zoro whisper, Perona laughed loudly. Damn it, ghost girl, when I recover, I will kill you. Zoro's current Haki is very strong. Although he couldn't use Haki because of the heavy injury, his strong spirit made him recover immediately. Yelled at Perona, looks like you haven't learned enough, Roranoa. Perona let out a sinister laugh like an imp, and one by one, the depressed ghosts lined up and burrowed into Zoro's body. Asshole, I'm a bug, I'm going to hack you to death. I'm Plankton, ghost girl, Master Perona, please trample me to death. Halo halo halo. 2 rambunctious fellows. Hawkeye sighed helplessly. The banquet on Ghost Island lasted for 2 days. After Luffy and the others have completely rubbed Wano Kuni's signpost historical text and a historical text recording the history, they are ready to set sail again. In the past 2 days, Zoro's and Hawkeye's severely injured bodies also slowly recovered with monster-level physical fitness. Everyone, the country is over. 21. Luffy is in the waters off Wano Kuni, aboard the Sunny. Marco and Ace are also there, and the rest of the Whitebeard pirates are planning to take the Moby Dick back to Whitebeard's hometown. They don't care much about territory anymore, and now they just want to protect the last pure land of Whitebeard. Straw Hat Boy, meet again next time, and I will defeat you. Bullet laughed out loud. Roranoa, I am at Wano Kuni, waiting for your challenge anytime. Hawkeye folded his arms around his chest, wearing the same black top hat as the one that was smashed before, and carrying the big black sword Yaya on his back, he said with a rare smile. He doesn't plan to go anywhere else, Wano Kuni is really good. This place is easy to defend and difficult to attack, enough for him to live a peaceful life for a long time. Moreover, he also needs time to digest the gains from the previous battles. Zoro's swordsmanship is completely opposite to his, but he has reached the same level as him. This touched him deeply. Oh, sooner or later I will take down the position of the world's #1 swordsman. Zoro nodded towards Hawkeye. They now have a feeling of sympathy for each other. After all, they are now the two great swordsmen standing at the top of the world. It's just that when Zoro saw Perona, who was making a face at him behind Hawkeye, his face instantly turned as black as the bottom of a pot. Then, set sail. Just when Luffy was about to leave, a firm voice suddenly sounded on the shore. Please let me join you, Luffy. I also want to go to sea, like Kazuki Oden, to travel around the world and witness everything in this world. Yamato looked serious. He sat down directly, knelt down on the shore, and shouted loudly at Luffy and the others. Chapter 114. Rocks Pirate. Yamato wants to go to sea. She wants to see the world as Kazuki Oden wrote in her diary, such as traveling around the world. Wano Kuni doesn't need her now. The crocodile of the Crusader Union is far more capable of governing than she is, and the people of Wano Kuni in just a few days have shown a completely different appearance from Kaido's rule. And after being fooled by Crocodile, Yamato also fully regarded Crocodile as Wano Kuni's savior. So in terms of Wano Kuni, she can no longer compete with Crocodile. What she wants now is to go out to sea and witness this great world. Of course, this kind of going to sea is not just to find a pirate group to go to sea. The Straw Hat Pirates are the result of her deliberation, the strength of the Straw Hat Pirates, and Luffy's dream of becoming the One Piece, just like Luogia recorded by Kazuki Oden. She also wants to join One Piece's pirate group and conquer the entire Grand Line. Please let me join you. Yamato lowered his head vigorously. Luffy didn't speak, just looked at him quietly. Zoro yawned, and Sanji silently lit a cigarette. The crew would never intervene in this kind of matter of pulling people on board, and only the captain made decisions about this kind of matter. Luffy just looked at Yamato quietly, with a peaceful smile on his face. Before pulling people on the boat, Sanji and the others were confused. Just like the original Robin and Brook, Robin is still an enemy, and Brook is a skeleton. But Luffy is quick to invite them aboard. Now facing Yamato, Luffy fell into a strange calm. Speaking of which, Luffy seems to be able to see something that they can't see about the essence of a person. Is it you who want to go to sea? Or is it Kazuki Oden who wants to go to sea? Luffy asked loudly. I am Kazuki Oden, Yamato said firmly. No, you're not Kazuki Oden, you're just Yamato. So, is it Kazuki Oden who wants to get on the boat, or Tenwa who wants to go to sea? Luffy continued asking. At this moment, Zoro on the boat showed his original expression, while Sanji was thoughtful. Yamato didn't speak anymore, she was thinking about this problem seriously. Going to sea is an adventure, a life-threatening voyage. Have you really made up your mind? Do you dare to take your life on a life-threatening voyage? Yamato. Luffy yelled loudly. It was Yamato he was able to pull aboard, not Kazuki Oden. Even though Kazuki Oden was once a member of Luogia Pirates, but he is not Luogia, he is Monkey D. Luffy who is destined to become One Piece. It is impossible for him to let someone who dare not even bear his own name and passed on board, just like wearing a mask on board. Yamato and Robin are also different. Robin got on the boat with a mask on at that time, and Luffy agreed. But Yamato can't. Now she is just an empty shell full of escapes instead of dreams. Not only the name, but even life and dreams are the so-called Kazuki Oden's shell. Such a person is not well aware. Yamato was silent for a long time. She thought a lot. She thought of the diary. What is she yearning for? Is Kazuki Oden's wonderful dreams and adventures, or simply wants to be Kazuki Oden? It is the former. She has always been regarded as a combat tool by her father Kaido, and she longs for a life as a person, not a life as a tool. It is like a person who dreams of freedom, takes risks, and sees the world. Instead of being used as a fighting tool by Kaido. Yamato clenched his fist and the mace tightly. I want to see the world. My name is Yamato. After Yamato finished speaking, an outstretched hand reached directly in front of her. 2 days of banquet time and fighting time are enough for Luffy to get to know Yamato, a simple, single-minded person. The last worry was nothing more than her awareness of going to sea. The moment she came to her senses, the boat tickets for the Straw Hat Pirates had been delivered to her. Come on board, partner, let's set sail. Yamato looked up and saw Luffy's bright and sunny smile. In an instant, she suddenly felt that the whole person seemed to be reborn, and felt some emotions that she had never felt in the past 20 years. Yamato nodded vigorously, and took the hand. Guys, set sail. Luffy's high-pitched shouts sounded from the Sunny. Next moment, the Sunny directly crossed the turbulent current and flew out from the high Wano Kuni inland sea. Ha ha ha. With Luffy's loud laughter, it was intertwined with the sound of panic from a group of people. This is the most free voice on the sea. That guy might really become the One Piece. Looking at the scene in the distance, even Gecko Moria couldn't help but said in a daze. He also had that kind of free spirit at the beginning, but after the death of his partner, all of them disappeared. Shanks, is this the new era you want to see? I may understand you a little bit. With sharp eyes, Hawkeye looked at the Sunny and the Straw Hat Pirates who had disappeared in the distance, and turned to leave. He is a character like Captain Luo Jia. I can't be mistaken. Captain Luo Jia's will extends on this man. Bullet's expression was a little dazed and downcast. Is this what you said, never to die? Captain Luo Jia. Straw Hat Boy, become the Pirate King. After all, you are the man I approve of. Bullet said in a low voice. He would definitely not be mistaken. The back of the Straw Hat Boy overlapped with Captain Luo Jia. This kind of person, when you look at it, you feel that in the whole sea, except for him who can become the Pirate King, who else is worthy of that position? One by one, Crocodile looked at the performance of the members of the Crusades around him, and couldn't help but snorted coldly. What a fun kid. It's a new era that Whitebeard guy recognizes. This sea is going to be fun. World sneered. Golden Lion's bastard, that character, will definitely meet him, as well as Marine and World Government. Such monsters with the aptitude of kings, are enough for them to eat a pot. Go, Straw Hat Boy, and turn this world upside down. World's face was extremely gloomy and dangerous. Compared to a combat lunatic like Bullet, he really wants to destroy the Marine and the World Government, and even the world. Wano-kuni Outer Seas. Aboard the Sunny, Marco is holding a newspaper in his hand. Luffy and the others don't have the habit of reading newspapers much, and their voyage has been relatively biased during this time, and they haven't received newspapers from Newsbird. There are so many things that have happened recently. Marco sat on the deck turf of the Sunny, flipping through the newspaper in his hand. This paper was from 3 days ago, that is to say, before they fought the Wano-kuni battle. This is. Marco's eyes widened. What's wrong, Pineapple Head? Nami walked over, leaned her head closer, looked at the newspaper in Marco's hand, and then her pupils shrank instantly, showing a shocked expression. No way. What? Let me see. Luffy's head stretched in an instant, and stretched out to Nami from a distance, and then his neck was like a snake, wrapping around Nami's body a few times, looking at the newspaper in Marco's hand. Isn't this Bigmom? Who are the other two uncles? Luffy looked puzzled. It's Kaido and the Golden Lion. Marco said solemnly. They have formed an alliance with Bigmom. Kaido. Golden Lion. Everyone showed shocked expressions. Who is the Golden Lion? Luffy asked suspiciously. He still knows Kaido, because he just came out from Wano-kuni. Kaido is the 4 emperors who once ruled Wano-kuni. It's just that Golden Lion really doesn't know anything about it. Hey, Luffy, haven't you heard of it? That's a super famous legendary pirate. Usopp spoke with cold sweat on his face. Indeed, I heard that he is a very powerful swordsman. Zoro also had a serious look on his face. That is a super legendary pirate who was as famous as Whitebeard and One Piece Gordy Luo Jia. Before the Battle of Atwal, Golden Lion had more hope of becoming One Piece than Luo Jia. Frankie has also heard the legend of the Golden Lion. After all, he is in the 7 capitals of water, and there are many seas coming and going. It's just, hasn't this legendary pirate disappeared long ago? Sanji said with some doubts. No, it never disappeared. 20 years ago, Golden Lion Shiki rushed to naval headquarters alone because he didn't believe in Luo Jia's death. The battle lasted for 3 days and 3 nights, and finally Golden Lion Shiki was caught into the great jail of Impel, and Marineford was half destroyed. Marco said. As a result, a few days later, Golden Lion successfully escaped from the so-called Iron-Walled Emperor prison, and has since disappeared. Yes, this is the information we have learned. Sanji spoke. Actually, after Shiki escaped from the Impel prison, he once came to find Dad. At that time, he seemed to be preparing a huge plan, a plan that could overturn the world. For this reason, he has been dormant for 20 years, and now, this legendary big pirate has undoubtedly completed his plan and has come to take revenge on the world. Marco's voice was heavy. He is a person of that era, and he knows the power of the Golden Lion better than others. A heroic father and a single boat, Luo Jia who pursues adventure, Golden Lion is a real careerist and conspirator, and the plan he has prepared for 20 years is absolutely extraordinary. Back then, the Golden Lion was so powerful that it completely suppressed Luo Jia. This person was originally a hero who annexed the world like a lion. Furthermore, the current Golden Lion has teamed up with 4 emperors Kaido and Bigmom, so it will be even more difficult. Marco said solemnly. A legendary pirate alongside Whitebeard Luo Jia, 4 emperors, these 3 people, no matter how you think about it, they shouldn't join forces, really. Ask for flowers. Jinbei said solemnly. You're wrong, Jinbei, only they have the basis to join forces, and the others, on the contrary, can't. Marco looked at Jinbei and said. Because the 3 of them were once companions on a boat. All the people present opened their mouths wide and exclaimed, and almost stared out their eyes. 4 emperors Kaido, 4 emperors Bigmom and the legendary pirate Golden Lion. Nami looked shocked and covered her mouth. A shipmate. Sanji couldn't keep calm either. Hey, Pineapple Head, are you kidding me? Usopp asked directly in shock. The same is true for Ace, who is also hearing this secret for the first time. I'm not joking. I also heard about this from my dad. When I first heard about it from my dad, my expression was similar to yours. Marco said with a smile. However, when I heard the news, Kaido and Bigmom were not as strong as they are now, becoming 4 emperors, so the shock they brought. Could it be that you are as big as you are now? Quote. What really struck me at the time was the other thing. What? Everyone's curiosity was aroused. Those who go to sea like to hear the secrets of these legendary pirates, and they have a sense of surging legend. Dad used to be partners with Golden Lion on the same boat, and after getting off the boat, he created the Whitebeard Pirates. Marco said with a nostalgic smile. Another bombshell. Everyone was blown numb. The news that came out of Marco's mouth was really shocking. 0. Golden Lion, Whitebeard, Kaido, and Bigmom were all on the same boat. It's shocking to the extreme. What kind of pirates are they? Sanji said in a daze. What kind of pirate group can absorb such a strong person to join? It is said that the 2 top legends of the pirate era, 3 of the 4 emperors of the Great Pirate era, are actually members of this pirate group. Rocks Pirate. With an inexplicable meaning, Marco read out the name of the pirate group. It is a pirate group created by a great pirate named Rocks. Rocks was once a super legendary pirate who almost swept the whole world. Papa, Golden Lion, Bigmo. Kaido, we used to be members of that pirate group. At that time, Kaido was still an apprentice crew member of Rocks. Then what happened later? Where did this pirate group go? Why is there no information left? Robin asked. This kind of pirate is secretive, even an archaeologist like her is not clear. Being crushed. Marco opened the mouth and said. The boat that got off at that time. Quote. Crush. Everyone is surprised. Will such a powerful pirate group be defeated? Is it Marine? Half right. It was the cooperation of Marine and pirates. Marine hero Garp and the then Luogia pirates teamed up to defeat the Rocks pirate on the Island of Gods. This battle confirmed the title of Garp Marine's hero, and also made Luogia's reputation resound across the sea. It turns out that Luffy's grandfather got the title of Marine hero here. I always thought it was because he pushed the One Piece King Luogia into danger several times. Nami was stunned, just like Sabaody Archipelago Rayleigh. Some of her fixed cognitions about this world were shattered once again. Me too. Usopp has read a lot of pirate legends and marine legends, and he remembers that it is clearly written that Garp has achieved the title of a marine hero because he forced Luogia into dangerous situations several times. What the world government preaches is like this. If it wasn't for Dad, I wouldn't know so many secrets. The Rocks pirate was buried in history by the government because it was too dangerous. In history. Let's not talk about you. Even Jinbei and I, who are in their 40s, have rarely heard of the famous Rocks. Marco said. Not only the Rocks, but even the island of God where Garp and Luogia teamed up to fight against the Rocks has disappeared. Now it is completely impossible to find on the map. To this island. Quote. Why? I don't know. Dad doesn't know much about this matter, or he doesn't want to tell us that much. Marco thought about it and said. My father seems to have said that the world government is not that simple. The world government possesses the ability to erase people or things from history. This is how the island seems to be erased. Quote. The ability to erase people and things from history. Usopp and Chopper couldn't help swallowing. This ability, as it sounds, is very terrifying. Coupled with the 800-year history of world government ruling the world, the shadow of this behemoth that has always ruled history is even more terrifying. It's history again. Robin's face was a little heavy, she thought a lot. World government, with that so-called ability, how much history can be directly erased from death? Chapter 115. The Revolutionary Army takes action. Advertise here. Robin, history is the treasure of all mankind, no one is qualified to bury it. Robin still clearly remembers what Dr. Clover once said to her. World government hinders the world. What truth is he hiding? Why was the history of that 100 years buried, and why did the huge kingdom that existed in the disappearing 100 years of history make the world government so afraid? In short, you just need to remember that the Golden Lion's alliance may be stronger than that of the Cross Union. Marco reminded. Fortunately, we have taken down the historical text of the road sign from Cake Island, and now we don't have to confront the Golden Lion. Nami patted his chest and breathed a sigh of relief. Isn't Luffy going to be the One Piece? Marco asked with doubts on his face. As long as Luffy's goal is One Piece, the ultimate secret treasure, then you are destined to face the Golden Lion again. That man's ambition is very strong, and, among the pirates of the old era, Golden Lion has the most disdain for the era of great pirates started by Luogia, and also hates the newcomers after the era of great pirates the most. Even the original Luogia became the One Piece King after the Atwal Sea battle. Therefore, if you want to become the One Piece King, you must defeat the Golden Lion alliance. No. Nami covered his face and groaned. Golden Lion, Kaido, Bigmom. The alliance formed by these 3 legends has far surpassed the Cross Union in terms of the army and the number of strong men. Moreover, the Crusaders fought against them before, but they did not use that huge force. Golden Lion. I heard he is a great swordsman with 2 swords. Zoro showed an interested smile instead. In the current sea, among the 3 great swordsmen standing at the top of the world, Haki is a pure 1-sword style, Golden Lion is a 2-sword style, and he is a 3-sword style. 087 is very interesting. For the world government, on the dangerous ranking of the new 4 emperors, the Golden Lion alliance is also the most dangerous. Marco pointed to the place in the newspaper and said. The so-called New Four Emperors refer to the four most dangerous new forces of pirates that exist in the Sea of New World. Ranked by risk. The first place is the Golden Lion Pirates League, the second is the Cross Guild that has absorbed Kaido's territory, the third is the Straw Hat Pirates plus them, and the fourth is the only one of the original four emperors. Leftover Red Hair Pirates. This ranking is still very pertinent. However, after the news of Luffy's defeat of the Crusaders got out, this should undergo a quick change. And this, sure enough, the two unfamiliar marine powerhouses before are the admiral newly summoned by Marine. Marco looked at the news on the back of the newspaper, which said that Marine's world conscription was basically over. The admiral level is awarded to two persons. One is the blind middle-aged uncle, Fujitora smiled. The other is Admiral, who was directly killed by Luffy. With the two admiral level powerhouses, Marine's strength has been greatly enhanced now. Marco looked a little dignified. The two admiral level powerhouses are no joke. The previous Marine, Chonghei, only had 3 admirals. Even if Sengoku retires and either Akainu or Aokiji takes the top position, they will still be Marine 4 admirals. With the addition of Marine's older generation of strong players, their strength improvement is also very terrifying. And that Fujitora's smiling fruit ability is hard to deal with. It doesn't matter. That's what makes it interesting, ha ha ha. Luffy laughed and said, whether it's Golden Lion or Marine, it's becoming more interesting. The previous 4 emperors were too weak, so it will be more challenging. If you dare to come, let's cut it down. Zoro smiled. After he fought Hawkeye, he had already begun to transform. Even if there is no limit breakthrough, he is still transforming. He needs more battles, more experience, and evolution to fill his current self. Sail away, Zo, Luffy yelled, sticking out his fist. New World, all nations. Cake Island. You can do it, Straw Hat. Kaido is holding a newspaper in his hand. This newspaper is different from the newspaper that Luffy and the others read a few days ago. This is the latest newspaper. The Straw Hat Pirates defeated the Crusaders, where the Straw Hats defeated Douglas Bullet, and Roronoa Zoro drew with the former Shichibukai Hawkeye. Roronoa Zoro's bounty increased to 3.8 billion berry, Blackfoot Sanji's bounty increased to 3.5 billion berry, Hexia Jinbei's bounty increased to 2 billion berry. Has even a monster like Bullet been defeated by the Straw Hat? Kaido did not show any disdain for the Straw Hat Pirates. If it was him before, he would not have much recognition for this fledgling kid. But now, he had to be extremely vigilant about the strength of the Straw Hat boy. Because he fought against Bullet before, he has a body that is as strong as Zone Fruit Awakening, as well as the ability of the combined fruit that amplifies the terrifying power and the almost infinite. Impressed Kaido. The battle between Kaido and Bullet didn't last too long though, as Hawkeye and the rest of the world dealt with the beast's pirates too quickly. But this doesn't affect Bullet's strength judgment in the slightest. Either way, he wasn't sure he'd be able to take Bullet down. The opponent's strength is not inferior to him at all, and he is a real monster-level existence. But such a monster lost to the Straw Hat boy. This makes Kaido, how could he disdain the Straw Hat Pirates? After all, he was defeated by the Crusaders and got out of Wano Kuni in despair. The Straw Hat Pirates were able to defeat the Crusaders, which was much stronger than his beast's pirates. Moreover, Kaido looked at Bigmom beside him, and sure enough, the latter's fists had been tightly clenched. Straw Hat Kid. Bigmom growled in a low voice. In the previous battle, Bigmom regarded it as a disgrace. It was a huge shame that someone destroyed the cake they wanted to eat, and was directly defeated. It's just a so-called new era pirate kid. It's time to play the house game to the end. Golden Lion said disdainfully. No matter how strong Luffy and the others are, in front of the Golden Lion, they are all products of the so-called era of great pirates set off by Luogia. It's just a group of bastards who don't have the awareness of pirates and play pirate house games on the sea. Has Blackfoot Sanji's bounty increased to this level? Katakuri looked at the newspaper in his hand and frowned. The newspaper didn't mention Blackfoot's record, but his bounty rose rapidly, and the rate of increase was second only to Roronoa. But Roronoa had a tie with the world's #1 swordsman, Hawkeye. The world's #1 swordsman, Hawkeye, was enough to rival the existence of the 4 emperors. Something must have happened, and Sanji's bounty was directly increased to 3.5 billion berry. What are we going to do next? Shall we go to war with the Straw Hat boys? Kaido glanced at Golden Lion. He didn't have a deep friendship with Golden Lion, after all, he was just a trainee crew member. But he did not deny at all that the strength of Golden Lion, the strength of this man, was no less than that of Whitebeard. Don't worry, don't you want a big secret treasure? Golden Lion smiled while smoking a cigar. Great secret treasure. Kaido and Bigmom's eyes lit up at the same time. But he recovered in an instant. Do you know where Raftel is, Shiki? Kaido asked. Even if we collect the historical text of road signs in our hands, there are only 2 pieces, and there is no Raftel at all. Bigmom also said. There are 4 copies of the history of road signs that are really needed, the copy of Wano Kuni in Kaido's hand, and the copy in her hand, which are only 2 copies. As for where the other 2 copies are, only the original One Piece Luogia knows. I don't know, but someone does. Golden Lion smiled and said. That guy at Whitebeard must know the whereabouts of the signpost history text. After all, that Kazuki Odin used to be the captain of the second squad on Whitebeard's ship. The Straw Hats are now thoroughly mixed up with the Whitebeard remnants, and when they get together the signpost history text, it's time for us to take action. While winning the big secret treasure, you can also teach these so-called pirates of the new era a lesson. Isn't it very interesting? Ha 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 ha. Golden Lion laughed loudly. Kaido and Bigmom also showed knowing smiles on their faces. Only Katakuri looked at the three of them frowning. He always felt that even if these 3-4 Emperors-level existences joined forces, it would be difficult to defeat the Straw Hat Pirates. That pirate group was full of miracles. Beidou Island, the headquarters of the Revolutionary Army. Hey, Dragon, why are you calling us in such a hurry? Is the plan ready to be implemented? In the meeting room, Bello Betty, commander of the Eastern Army, spoke. Bello Betty was the only female among the 4 major commanders of the Revolutionary Army. She wore revealing clothes, behaved wildly, and carried a large flag in her hand. Although the strength is not the strongest, her ability is also the most dangerous ability in the eyes of the world government. Encouraging people with the fruit ability can inspire people's courage and resist tyranny. Next to Bello Betty, Lindbergh, the commander of the Southern Army, Mori, the commander of the Western Army, Crow, the commander of the Northern Army, and the 4 major commanders of the revolutionary drama, have secretly convened at this moment. Except for the Grand Line Army commander Shimale King Ivankov, who was still in the Impel prison, and Bartholomew Kuma, who was in the hands of the world government, all other senior leaders of the revolutionary army are here at this moment. Look at this first. Long put a newspaper on the table. What is this? Bello Betty raised her sunglasses and looked at the newspaper in her hand. It is recorded above that Luffy the Straw Hat defeated the Cross Union. I remember this Straw Hat boy. Is it your son, Dragon? Bello Betty spoke. The information that Luffy is the son of the dragon was originally known to very few people, but after the Summit War, Luffy's life experience was directly excavated by Morgans. After all, Dragon's full name is Monkey D. Dragon, Luffy's full name is Monkey D. Luffy, plus the close connection with the world government, it is still very easy for Morgans to get this information. If it's about showing off your son, we already know that, Dragon, so there's no need to say it again. Lindbergh laughed and joked. You guys. The group of guys are really dull enough. Long couldn't help but said. The new world is already in chaos, you have seen it before, the birth of the new 4 emperors. W. The crazy military expansion of the world government and marine is to deal with the increasingly powerful pirate forces. The balance of the sea has been completely broken, and our plan has been shattered. It was completely disrupted, and we didn't have enough time to wait for the opportunity step by step. Quote. Or, now is our best time. Did something happen? Bello Betty took off her sunglasses, looked at the dragon with those very encouraging eyes and said. If you wear sunglasses, Bello Betty is like a gang leader, unruly, arrogant, with thorns all over, and smoke at the corner of her mouth. But when she took off her sunglasses, her incomparably gentle eyes instantly changed her whole demeanor. She is like a saint leading people forward, pure and pure. What? The dragon said with a serious face. Vegapunk is almost overwhelmed. Because of the serious imbalance in the world situation and the fact that the pirate forces are too strong, the world government can't wait to get more powerful power from Vegapunk. Before, because of the wisdom of Vegapunk and the need for his usefulness, the world government compromised and did not enter the future island Egghead, but now it is different. The power of the pirates has panicked the group of corrupt nobles above. Although the 5 elders did not give orders directly, the CP people have already started to forcibly enter Egghead, that is. Even with the support of some people in Marine, Vegapunk can't last too long. Quote. Is the Iron Giant still not able to start? Bello Betty asked. The Iron Giant that attacked Mariajoy 200 years ago is also the technology that Vegapunk has been researching. It's a pity that until now, there has been no technical breakthrough. The time is too tight. If Vegapunk can complete Seraph, we will have a better chance of winning in the world. Lindbergh also had a heavy face. If they follow their plan step by step, their plan should be launched at the World Summit 2 years later. At that time, they can take advantage of the World Summit to explore Mariajoy. On this holy place of celestial dragons, the secrets of the world's nobles have been hidden for hundreds of years. Now they know too little about the secrets of the world government, which will be a huge loophole when they do it. There isn't that much time anymore, but the timing isn't too bad. Long's eyes are very dignified, but calm, and the deep eyes seem to always contain this era. 1.2 inches world government and marine are now being held back by most of the energy and attention of the pirates, which is more conducive to our actions. If the plan goes well, we should have a huge breakthrough. How to do it? Mr. Long. Mori, the commander of the Western Army, asked. He is a giant, looks like a big man, but his voice is very shy, and his tone is closer to that of a woman. Go to Imper prison and rescue Ivankov. They have been dormant there for so long, and it is time to come out. The dragon's eyes were deep, and he made a decision. Is it the great prison of Imper? It is true that at this time, Marine has no extra strength and can take care of the deep sea prison. With Mori's ability, he can rescue Araki. Vankov, it shouldn't be a daily effort. Quote. Bello Betty said. Ivankov's entry into the Imperk prison was part of their plan. Otherwise, Ivankov, who owns a powerful kingdom of monsters, will definitely be treated like a bear. The great prison of Imper is the best place to hide. Moreover, since they chose to send Ivankov in, they were naturally ready to rescue them. Bello, Betty, you take Mori and the others to take charge of this matter, and I will leave it to you to rescue Eva. Long Shaw ordered. Among the 4 commanders of the Revolutionary Army, Bello Betty may be the weakest in strength, but her wisdom and leadership qualities are indeed the strongest. Understood. Win first. Bello Betty and several other Revolutionary Army commanders spoke in unison. Mr. Long, what about me? Sabo quickly pointed to himself, and said. He also wants to save Ivankov. After all, Ivankov is an important lifesaver to him. If it weren't for Ivan's medical skills, he would have died in East Blue. You have more important things, Sabo. Longyan said with deep eyes. Chapter 116 Give an order, Joey Boye. Advertise here. That golden lion guy came out again, but Luffy's side is getting stronger and stronger. On the Sabaody archipelago, Rayleigh is holding a newspaper and looking at it with a smile. He saw Zoro and Sanji's rising bounties, and Jinbei's soaring bounties. Rayleigh should be the only one in this world, other than the Straw Hat Pirates, who knows about Luffy's special ability that can strengthen others. So he is very clear that as long as they continue to fight, the strength of Luffy and the others will become stronger. Until it surpasses everything, and then completely changes the world. Raftel, the big secret treasure, I don't know what kind of expression Luffy and the others will show when they land on that island, I'm really looking forward to it. Rayleigh took a sip of his wine and smiled. Calm Belt, Hydra Island. Sister, look quickly, it's that Straw Hat Kid again. Sandersonia came in with a newspaper. Sandersonia has a lot of affection for Luffy. After all, this man dares to directly attack celestial dragons. For the 3 sisters who hated celestial dragons very much, Luffy's behavior undoubtedly increased the favorability. Is it this man again? Unknowingly, he has already stood at the pinnacle of the world. The Empress sat on Salome, gently lifted her long hair and flicked it behind her. Looking at the newspaper in the hands of the second sister, a strange emotion appeared on her cold face. The first time she knew the Straw Hat was after the Sabaody incident. For Boa Hancock, the man who dared to punch directly at the world's noble celestial dragons was undoubtedly an act of directly maximizing his favorability. Later, during the brief meeting during the Summit War, she saw how powerful, casual, and self-willed that man was, which made her feel an inexplicable emotion. She didn't know what emotion it was. It seems that it is just the fermentation of good feelings. This kind of man who can face the Marine and the world government is indeed worthy of admiration. After the Sabaody incident and the Summit War, the Empress has been paying attention to Luffy's movements. See him declare war with the 4 Emperors Bigmom pirates, and see him defeat Bigmom. See him declare war on the Crusaders and see him defeat Douglas Bullet. This man, like Summit War, rushed to the forefront of the battlefield recklessly, full of vigor and willful heroism. In just a few dozen days after entering New World, he has now become the new Emperor of New World. It is not the 5 emperors who were unilaterally named by the newspapers and the world government before, but the real emperor recognized by the entire pirate world. What a powerful man. The Empress sighed in admiration, but didn't say much. After all, she and Luffy are just strangers now. Prepare hot water. I'm ready to take a shower. The Empress stood up from Salome, with a curvaceous and alluring figure that even a woman would go crazy, and walked towards the palace bathroom. Elder sister. Sandersonia looked at the back of the Empress, and stuck out her tongue like a snake letter, somewhat inexplicably. Isn't it what my sister said? All the information about the Straw Hat Boy was presented. Why is there such a cold expression now? Shaking his head, although he always felt that his sister had become a bit strange since the Summit War, Bao Dasonia didn't think much about it. Could it be heat? Snake Princess. Granny Z, who was holding a snake stick, looked at the back of the Empress, and thought worriedly with the eyes of someone who had passed by. Alabasta. My lord father, look quickly, there is news from Luffy and the others again. In the palace, Vivi excitedly rushed in with a newspaper, and said to King Cobra lying on the bed. Cobra has been in poor health since the last crocodile conspiracy and is in the process of recuperating. But at this moment, he still looked at Vivi with a smile on his face, and took the newspaper in her hand. Luffy and the others have finally come to this step, and they are getting closer and closer to the final big secret treasure. Different from Vivi's excitement, Cobra looked at the newspaper, obviously not so excited, and there was even some worry in his eyes. What's the matter, my lord father? You don't look very happy. Vivi also noticed something wrong with Cobra and asked. No, nothing, I just thought of something else. Cobra said to Vivi with a smile. After Vivi left, Cobra stepped out of the bed with a serious face and looked out the window. Too fast, Luffy. Cobra's eyes were deep, and he sighed in his heart. The closer they get to the final big secret treasure, the more pressure Luffy and the others will face from the Marine and world government. 100 years of history disappeared in this world. 800 years ago, the reason why their Nefertari family did not choose to enter Mariajoy. It is the ancient weapon Pluton of Alabasta, but it is not in Alabasta, and the piece of historical text left in Alabasta. Some things, before Crocodile, Cobra didn't see anything wrong. But since the crocodile incident, the king's keen intuition has given him insight into some unusual things. Their Nefertiti family doesn't seem to be of the same mind as the world government. He must figure out the truth recorded in the history text. The secret of the Nefertiti family. It's just a pity that he originally planned to ask 5 elders at the World Summit 2 years later, but now, it may be earlier. Because Luffy they grow up too fast. Perhaps in less than 2 years, Luffy may become One Piece. However, how to operate this matter still needs to be thought about carefully. New World, Dressrosa, ha 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 ha, really capable, Straw Hat Boy, BIGMOM, Cross Union. Holding a copy of the latest newspaper, Doflamingo laughed loudly, but the veins on his forehead were already bursting. Hey, Dover, what shall we do now? Torrebel said with a worried face. Kaido is down. New World is in such a mess, world government and Marine don't have much power to control New World, we may not be able to hold on to Dressrosa. Except for Torrebel, all the cadres of the Don Quixote family present had serious expressions on their faces. The reason why they were able to occupy Dressrosa before was that they were able to blend like ducks in water in the underground world of New World. Just because Doflamingo is Shichibukai, Dressrosa is a member country of world government. Under such circumstances, coupled with Doflamingo's identity as a former celestial dragon and his possession of the unique secrets of celestial dragons, he is able to threaten the world government and allow part of the world government's power to be used by him. More recently, the groundwork has been laid with the Faux Devil Fruit and the Four Emperors Kaido. However, today is different. Although the Summit War has ended, its vibrations are constantly shaking this era. After the Summit War, the rise of the Straw Hat Pirates, the cross union established by the worst criminals in Imper prison released by Blackbeard, plus the appearance of Golden Lion. In the current New World, the power of pirates has more than doubled that of the past. The power of the world government is infinitely compressed. Relying on the power of Shichibukai, they are not enough to deter the current pirates. Not to mention, if they don't stand in line, they will also be cleared out by the new 4 emperors. It has been the common sense since ancient times that the new emperor will inevitably set off huge waves in the New World. Not to mention, with Blackbeard's death, Hawkeye and Moria joined the Crusaders, and Seaman Jinbei joined the Straw Hat Pirates. The current Shichibukai system has existed in name only. Once the Shichibukai system is completely abolished, then their last vestiges of Dressrosa may be gone. Hey, why worry? The worst is the destruction of the world, this disgusting world ruled by scum. Have you forgotten our original purpose? That is to destroy this world created by celestial dragons. Doflamingo crossed his feet on the table and laughed maniacally. Of course I haven't forgotten. Dover, you are our king, make a decision, in the face of this turbulent wave of the new era. Torrebel showed a disgusting smile, held up his cane, and said frantically. The cadres of the surrounding Don Quixote family also all looked at Doflamingo. So, Doflamingo threw the newspaper on the ground, stood up, and stretched out his hands, as if embracing the new era. In this kingdom, start a war that will sweep the entire world. Using the thing we got before, it is enough to destroy the world's key. Meow 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 meow. Doflamingo's crazy laughter echoed in the palace of Dressrosa, like a demon blowing his final horn. The sea around Dressrosa. There was a faint mist on the sea. It's almost here. Marco stood on the deck of the Sunny, looked at the life card in his hand and said. This is the life card of a former partner kept by the Whitebeard pirates. Kazuki Oden's life card had been reduced to ashes 18 years ago, and the life card in his hand belonged to Duke Ingong. Duke Inuarashi and Neko Mamushi, who used to be Kazuki Oden's retainers, boarded the Moby Dick and naturally left their life cards. It's a pity that Izo stayed in Wano-kuni, otherwise, it would be best for him to bring you here. Marco spoke. Izo was the only retainer of Kazuki Oden who remained in the Whitebeard pirates. However, after the previous Wano-kuni battle, he temporarily stayed in Wano-kuni. After all, it was his hometown. It is said that the kingdom of the Fur tribe is a moving kingdom, and there is no pointer to it, and it can only be found through some special means. Robin spoke with great interest. The Fur Kingdom is a kingdom with a very long history, and its history even exceeds the history of the current world government. It is said that it has existed for more than 1,000 years. It is one of the important bases for archaeologists to carry out archaeology. However, because it is too mysterious, even archaeologists know very little about Zou. A kingdom that's always on the move. Luffy and the others were all attracted by Robin's words. Ah, because the Fur Kingdom is a country on an elephant's back. Marco said with a smile. A country on an elephant's back. What do you mean? Nami's thoughts didn't turn around at all. You'll know it when you see it. Marco looked at the life card in his hand with a smile, then raised his head suddenly. Here. Everyone followed Marco's gaze, and their pupils shrank into needlepoints in an instant. What is this? Ace opened his mouth wide, his jaw almost dislocated. This is a joke. Nami covered her mouth in surprise. So big. The exclamation almost shook the Sunny from the sea. The huge figure shrouded in the white mist is simply indescribably huge. The huge shadow, even the fog can't cover it, but because of the fog, the overall outline of the huge shadow is more clear. This is Zou, a giant elephant that has existed for thousands of years. The legendary kingdom of the Fur clan is located on the back of this Zou giant elephant. Where is the island of Zou? Marco explained loudly, his voice full of passion. The giant elephant Zou is one of the meanings of the pirate's adventure. Such a huge life form makes people admire the wonder of the creator. In the adventure, such a spectacle that can break the world view is so exciting. At this moment, Luffy and the others, after experiencing a huge shock, their eyes shone with light, looking at the giant beast in front of them, just like seeing the upside-down mountain and the wonder of Sky Island. It's amazing. How tall is this? Zoro couldn't help asking. Probably more than 20,000 meters. Marco smiled and said, Zo's feet are about 10,000 meters below the surface of the sea, and the Fur Kingdom is about 10,000 meters high. 20,000 meters. There was a look of shock on everyone's face. Indeed, it was too surprising. Just the part exposed on the sea is equivalent to the height of Sky Island. 377. Creatures of this level are much bigger than the biggest sea kings that Luffy and the others have ever seen. So, how do we get up there? Frankie raised a question. It's so high, and there's no sea, should we keep the Tyrannosaurus here? Unfortunately, there is no direct connection to Zo's ocean. Marco shook his head and said. Unlike Wano-Kuni has an inland sea, but Zo does not, and even there is no large river on Zo. The water of the kingdom of Zo relies on the natural rain and the rain of gifts sprayed by Zo every once in a while. Then let me stay and guard the Sunny. Frankie spoke up. No, it would be a pity not to go to this legendary island. But the Sunny, everyone argues. Suddenly, Nami set his eyes on Luffy. Immediately afterwards, everyone seemed to have thought of something, and smiled kindly at Luffy. After a while, I'm so tired, you guys are really thick. Luffy was panting, carrying the Sunny on his shoulders. At this moment, he has entered the 5th gear. The rubber giant in 5th gear can reach a height of more than 100 meters. Now Luffy is nearly 100 meters tall. Carrying the Sunny, stepping on the clouds, flying upwards. Only he can do this. After all, his 5th speed flight is not moonwalk, but his own flying ability. The 39-meter-long Sunny, in front of Luffy, looked a little petite. But still very tired. The 5th gear consumes stamina, and the 100-meter-high body consumes it even faster. In normal battles, Luffy maintains the height of a rubber giant in Gear 5, which is about 20 meters. Joey Bowie, you're finally here. It seems that there is an extremely ancient existence, making the sound of the years. So, give the order, Joey Po. Luffy asked suspiciously. Luffy said with some pain. No, only you suddenly yelled. Damn it, it's so loud. That voice was too loud, as if it was about to crack his head. Who are you? Luffy stopped and shouted loudly. Did you not hear a great voice? Joey boy, 800 years, I have been waiting for your order, and now I have finally waited, your heartbeat like the drum of liberation. This kind of sound is bigger and deeper than the sound he heard in the deep sea near the Fishman Island before. What's the matter, Luffy? Just as Luffy was carrying the Sunny into the sky quickly, he suddenly heard an extremely huge sound, which rang in his mind. The people on board also noticed Luffy's abnormality. The loud sound made Luffy's head almost explode. He covered his head with one hand and roared loudly. Everyone on board beckoned. Stop screaming. Stop it for me. Chapter 117 The Fur Tribe, Garrett on the boat. Advertise here. Stop for me. Luffy's huge roar directly penetrated the entire sea area, echoing over the entire Fur Tribe kingdom. The people of the entire Fur Kingdom looked at the sky in amazement at this moment. Whose voice is this? Duke Inuarashi frowned, staring at the sky. Such a huge and unfamiliar roar is full of powerful spirit. What a loud voice. Dead. The sleeping cat Viper woke up directly from sleep, and roared loudly full of waking up. This is. Garrett and Wanda of the Musketeers looked towards the sky. Next moment, the entire Zo Island trembled violently. As this Zo stopped, Nekomushiro and Inuarashi, who had the most keen senses, were the first to feel Zo's situation. Zo is an island that never stops. Whether it is day or night, the elephant owner of Zo Island is tirelessly moving forward. It keeps moving in this sea area and never stops. Although the movement is slow, the vibration that causes the island to move is not so strong, but whether it is Inuarashi or Mobamushi, they can feel the movement of the elephant master. But now, the violent vibration is because the elephant master stopped. The footsteps that are said to have lasted for thousands of years stopped. Is it because of that voice just now? Inulan vaguely remembered the voice just now, as if calling to stop. It was because of this voice that it stopped, right? This is probably too exaggerated. Outside Zo. Phew, it finally stopped, that voice. Luffy felt the disappearance of the extremely loud voice in his head, and finally heaved a sigh of relief. Speaking of which, Odin seems to have experienced such a situation when he first came here. Marco said thoughtfully on the deck of the Sunny. Odin said at the time that there was a loud voice that seemed to be saying something, but he couldn't communicate with it, and after a while, the voice dissipated. Hey, Marco, Zo is a giant elephant that never stops. Robin suddenly asked Marco with a solemn face. Yes, according to the history of Zo Island, the elephant master has been walking like this for at least 800 years. Marco spoke. Then, why, this giant elephant stopped now? Robin pointed at the giant elephant with shocking eyes. Since Luffy yelled that voice just now, the distance between the giant elephant and them has not continued to widen. In the previous words, their bully was the Elephant King who took a lot of effort to catch up. Luffy, Did you really stop this giant elephant? Nami said. This giant elephant is really alive, it's unimaginable, a creature that has lived for thousands of years. Chopper felt a little weird. Isn't it good to test it? Usopp thought for a moment, then called out to Luffy. Hey, Luffy, let this giant elephant send us up with its trunk. Is it okay? Although Luffy was a little puzzled, he followed Usopp's suggestion and yelled loudly at the elephant owner. Follow your orders, Inibone. The huge voice sounded in Luffy's mind again, but this time the voice in his mind didn't become so loud and could be accepted. A moment later, a thick and unimaginably thick elephant trunk directly covered the sky. The tip of the trunk rolled up Luffy and Sunny. The 100-meter-high Luffy and the 39-meter-long Sunny are smaller than toys in front of this huge elephant trunk. It's amazing. Haha. Luffy's body shrunk, and Guading County landed firmly on the trunk. Then they climbed up quickly, countless times faster than their previous speed. Soon, with the help of the elephant's trunk, they came to the top of the elephant's back. From here, they could clearly see the Fur Tribe Kingdom below. The so-called Zou Island is really an island carried on the back of a giant elephant. As for the Fur Tribe Kingdom, one can clearly see the prosperous city built among the lush jungles. Luffy and the others still don't know how much shock their appearance has brought to everyone in the Fur Kingdom on Zou. Is that the elephant's nose? Why did it appear at this time? Obviously today is not the time for the rain of gifts. Why is it getting closer and closer, the elephant owner's nose? At this moment in the Fur Kingdom, everyone watched in shock that the elephant owner's nose was getting closer and closer, like an Optimus Prime falling towards this side. Whoosh. Duke Inuarashi led the members of the musketeer team behind him, quickly pulled out afterimages, and quickly approached the elephant owner's nose. And on the other side, out of the grass, a fat big cat rushed out. Old cat, you're awake too. Duke Inuarashi said. The conflict between him and the cat viper so far was not a very big one, and at this critical moment, they didn't fight like usual. How could I still be able to sleep on such an important matter? Behind Mao Viper, Pedro of the Knights group followed closely behind. The living environment of the Fur Kingdom comes from the elephant owner. The abnormal behavior of the elephant owner today has cast a shadow over the hearts of Inuarashi and Maomushi. If something happens to the elephant owner, it will be difficult for the Fur Kingdom. Neither Inulan nor Maomushi said a word, and they quickly sent off towards the place where the trunk of the elephant owner fell. The distance is getting closer. The look of surprise on their faces became more and more intense. What is that? They seemed to see a ship on the trunk of the elephant owner. The trunk of the elephant owner changed, because he wanted to use the trunk to send the ship to the island of Zou. Reminds me of the loud voice I heard before. Cat Viper and Inuarashi looked at each other, and they both saw the shock in each other's eyes. Could it be that someone can manipulate the elephant master? When Cat Viper and Inulan arrived at the landing point of the elephant trunk, the elephant owner's trunk had also dropped, and he gently placed the Zuni on a lake. Thanks, Colossus. Luffy patted the elephant owner's nose with a smile and said. Then the huge elephant trunk was directly retracted. It's actually able to control the elephant master. Who is it? Momomushi and Inuarashi looked shocked. Although they know that the Lord is the existence of life. But they really didn't expect that a creature at the level of the elephant master would one day be manipulated by others and obey other people's orders. The Fur tribe has lived here for thousands of years, but they have never communicated with the elephant owner. Such people, if they want to, can destroy the entire Fur tribe kingdom in an instant. Long time no see, Cat Mamushi, Inuarashi. Just as Mamushiro and Inuarashi looked shocked and cautious, a familiar voice sounded from a distant ship. Marco stretched out his blue flame wings and flew towards the shore. Marco. Cat Viper and Inulan looked at the person coming, they both looked inexplicable, and then showed a look of surprise. If it was Marco, then the identity of the person on the boat who could order the elephant master was already very obvious. The super big pirate who has risen like a comet in New World recently, Straw Hat Kid. This man, who inherited Luo Jia's will and was recognized by Whitebeard, has been unstoppable since the Summit War. For the Straw Hats, for Maomushi and Inuarashi who have stayed on both the Whitebeard ship and the Luo Jia ship, they still have a good impression. It's just that they didn't expect that the Straw Hat Boy would have the ability to command the Elephant Master. Straw Hat Kid. Pedro's eyes were a little deep, and seemed to carry other meanings. Straw Hat Crew. Behind Inulan, Garrett, who was wearing sharp claw gloves, poked his head out cutely, looking at the recently famous pirates on the Sunny. The heart that was eager to go to sea began to become restless again. Let me introduce you. These are Maomushiro and Inuarashi. These are Odin's retainers who boarded our and Luo Jia's boat. Marco introduced with a smile. As for the Cat Vipers and Inuarashi here, you should already know. Sounds like thunder. Straw Hat Kid. Three-Sword Swordsman, Rorno Azoro, a great pirate with a bounty of 3.8 billion. Blackfoot Sanji, a great pirate with a bounty of 350 million. Inuarashi and Maomushiro looked over, and as far as their eyes could see, they were all unimaginably big figures with terrifying bounties. Even with their strength, they can clearly feel the strong sense of oppression. This is the full combat power of the Straw Hat Pirates who are currently closest to One Piece. This oppressive force is almost the same as that of the Luo Jia pirates back then. The Cat Viper couldn't help but smack its tongue. The Luogia pirate group is the most comprehensive pirate group he has ever seen, even the Whitebeard pirate group is completely inferior. But now, the strength of the Straw Hat pirates is not weaker than the Luogia pirates who were in the strongest state at the time. Has the bounty increased again? Zoro yawned, but didn't care much anymore. Now he already has this level of strength. For a person of his strength, the bounty is really just a string of numbers. Damn it, the gap between him and this stinky swordsman is widening again. When Sanji heard about his bounty from Malviper's mouth, he looked unwilling. Are you fur people? Same as Chopper, so interesting. Luffy looked at the cat Mamushi Inuarashi with a big grin, and smiled. Speaking of which, the people of the fur tribe are indeed similar to the Chopper who ate the human fruit. Usopp looked surprised. The biggest difference between fur people and animals is that their intelligence and body are closer to humans. Just like a murloc. Speaking of which, there is one thing that I have always been curious about. What would happen if fur tribes and murlocs ate the human fruit? Nobody can explain Usopp's problem. At least from Chopper's point of view, except for the monster form enhanced by the blue wave ball. It seems that the fruit of everyone only opened up the wisdom for him, an ordinary elk. After all, it is only a common species of human fruit, except for the bonus of wisdom and the change of human and animal form, other blessings are almost negligible. You might as well ask, what changes will happen if people eat the common fruit of the human fruit? Frankie couldn't help complaining. This is an unsolved mystery, unless Tianba can grow the fruit of everyone. Nekomushiro and Inuarashi don't care about the daily offline of the Straw Hat Pirates. If you don't dislike it, let us treat you well. Cat Mamushi Inuarashi said with a smile. Although the Fur Clan rejects humans, it does not reject all humans. Otherwise, when the Luogia pirates came to the Fur Tribe Kingdom, what they received. It will not be such a grand reception. Luffy inherited Luogia's will and Whitebeard's approval, plus Marco's face. They are perfectly fine in the Kingdom of Fur Tribes. Okay. Luffy smiled and held the back of his head. Everything about Zou Island makes him feel interesting, and the Fur Tribe, and the kingdom established by the Fur Tribe, is really exciting. Wait until Luffy and the others leave. In the lush jungle next to this lake. A Madara points his hat and emerges. Then there's a group of pirates in white coats. If Luffy and the others were still here at the moment, they would be able to recognize it. This is what I met on the Sabaody archipelago, the Supernova Trafalgar Law, and the Heart Pirates he led. Damn it, I'm so envious, why should we be rejected? The Straw Hat Boys will be treated with courtesy by the king of the Fur Tribe. One of the crew members in a white coat couldn't help but said enviously. Hey, Beppo, think of a way, I also want to go to the Fur Tribe Kingdom for a while. There is no way, Bippo said dejectedly. I'm just an ordinary Fur Tribe, I can't convince Duke Inuarashi and Boss Mamushi. Don't embarrass Beppo, the Straw Hats are the new 4 emperors after all. Luo leaned the long knife on his shoulder, and his eyes were deep. Also, the captain of the Whitebeard Pirates, the Phoenix Marco seems to have some serious friendship with the 2 kings of the Fur Clan. Let's go, take a rest, we should leave too. Luo said calmly. He didn't think about going to Luffy to work with him. The 2 sides are no longer on the same level. Moreover, compared to cooperation, he now wants to rely on his own strength to solve Doflamingo. Things went even better than he had imagined. The connection between Kaido and Doflamingo is basically cut off, and the power of the world government is gradually shrinking due to the strength of the pirate forces. The power behind Doflamingo has almost been emptied. Kurushi. A furry face was pressed directly against Luffy's. Then it bites directly on Luffy's cheek. Ha ha ha, it's so itchy. Luffy couldn't help laughing. The one biting his face was a cute fur family rabbit. Luffy remembered that this was the one who followed the big dog before, and his breath was not weak. It's just that for some reason, this rabbit has been very interested in him since entering the kingdom of the Fur Tribe. Because there is no hostility in the rabbit's heart, Luffy is not so repulsive. Hey, Garrett, it can't be like this. Wanda, of the money, literally tore Garrett away from Luffy. My name is Garrett. I've wanted to go to sea for a long time. Let me get on board, Luffy. Garrett said with a familiar face. Okay. Luffy agreed directly and readily. It surprised Yamato on the side, it was so difficult for her to get on the boat, but now a rabbit can get on the boat so easily. But only Yamato was surprised. The rest of the Straw Hat Pirates are all entangled by the enthusiastic Fur Tribe at the moment. I heard that you defeated Haki, the world's #1 swordsman. If you have time, let's learn swordsmanship. Pedro, beside Zoro, said kindly. Pedro was one of the Fur Tribes that didn't dislike humans, because he had really gone to sea, although he left a painful memory. Sanji was twisted all over. Crazy looking for the beauty of the Fur Clan, Kulukyu. Inulan looked at Luffy with a serious face and said. Among them, of course, was Duke Inuarashi, whose gaze was on Brook most of the time. Among them, the most popular one is Brook. In the popular eyes of fur people, especially dogs, Brook seems to be exuding an attractive fragrance. Although the beauties of the fur family have animal heads, they have an inexplicable sense of beauty. After the banquet is full of wine and food. Luffy, we generally know the purpose of your trip, it is for the historical text of the signpost. It doesn't look hideous. Luffy sat cross-legged on the ground, smiling and nodding. Kurushio. Yeah, Marco told me that you have a piece of signpost history here. Therefore, I have great goodwill towards Luffy, who inherited Luojia's will, and the Straw Hat Pirates. Actually, you may not believe it when you say it. We have been waiting for you for a long time. His idol is Luojia. Duke Inuarashi and Momomushi suddenly spoke with serious faces. The historical text of the road sign is in the Whale Forest, and I can take you to Rubbings later. Cat Viper said cheerfully. Chapter 118 Fruit of Time, Changing Future. Advertise here. What do you mean? We just met for the first time. Zoro frowned and asked. Yes, although I have seen a lot of information about you in the newspaper, but it is indeed the first time we have met. Cat Viper held a pipe, exhaled the smoke and said calmly. However, Old Dog and I were waiting for someone as early as 18 years ago. After getting in touch, we have almost confirmed that it is you. The person we are waiting for is you, Straw Hat Boy. After the Cat Viper's voice fell, the entire room suddenly fell into silence. The sound of tobacco burning in the pipe can be heard. Duke Inuarashi stood aside and lowered his head slightly, his gaze was deep and distant. Hey, wait, Luffy, I think your age is about 18. Nami covered her head and asked Luffy. Probably 17, not far from 18. Luffy said with a heartless smile on his face. So young. The faces of Duke Inuarashi and Momomushi showed shocking expressions. Although they could all tell that Luffy was young, it was unexpected that he would be so young. A 17-year-old boy has become the emperor of the new world. And it is recognized as the most likely person to become One Piece after Gore D. Luogia, and he is so young. You should also find out what the problem is. Nami pulled Luffy's face helplessly, and said, our captain is only 17 years old this year. 18 years ago, Luffy was not born yet, why do you think he is the one waiting for you? Quote. It's not impossible. Marco frowned and said, you have a very good relationship with the Fishman Island, you should know Mrs. Sharley on the Fishman Island. Is that Mrs. Sharley from the Mermaid Cafe? Nami said. It's a very big and beautiful mermaid, right? It's her. Mrs. Sharley is the most powerful fortune teller in the world. Her success rate of fortune telling is 100%. Through fortune telling, she can see things that haven't happened in the distant future. Marco said with a solemn face. She once predicted the death of the old 700 father and Ace, but Ace did not die. Speaking of it, I seem to have heard Mrs. Sharley talk about it. Nami recalled that the mermaid store manager of the Mermaid Cafe was very friendly to them. She seems to have said that the future is not 100% unchangeable, at least she has seen the possibility of change, the outcome of the Summit War has been changed. She also seems to have said that Luffy is someone who can change the future, destiny, and the world. That's why she can change the established ending of the Summit War. Nami recalled carefully. At that time, she remembered very clearly that Mrs. Sharley, who was somewhat gloomy, had an inexplicable metamorphosis when talking about this matter. It was like a nightmare that once shrouded my body, and one day it suddenly dissipated. So that's the case, and this can be explained clearly. Except for the Summit War, Mrs. Sharley's divination is absolute. Marco thought about it. According to Mrs. Sharley's divination, the ending of Dad and Ace is not so good. Dad died on the Summit War battlefield covered in scars, Ace was pierced by something and died completely. Everything changed only because of the Straw Hat Boy. He rescued Ace, and Dad's ending was changed from dying in Marineford to dying after the war, on the Moby Dick. Compared with the ending of Mrs. Sharley's divination, the ending after the intervention of the Straw Hat Boy is much better. In the way he wanted to die, Dad lay on the bed surrounded by all his family members and left this world peacefully. Ace, who inherited his father's will, still lives by their side. The Straw Hat Boy is indeed an existence full of miracles. We didn't actually see the future, but someone told us 18 years ago that after 18 years, there will be a person who can change the world and come to Zou. And at that time, all the members of the Fur Clan must support him with all their strength and help him get the final big secret treasure. The Old Dog and I were not sure before, but since we saw you, we have been sure. If there is really one person in this world who can change the whole world, it is you, Straw Hat Boy. Only you have great strength, almost unlimited potential, and your ability to communicate with the elephant owner. Both Lagu and I can be sure that it is only you. Cat Viper knocked the soot lightly, and said firmly. 18 years later, the person who came to Zou and could change the world, except for the King of the Sea who had set off a new era in front of him, Momomushi and Inuarashi, could not think of a second candidate. I seem to know who this person is. Marco looked thoughtful. Who the hell can see the future like Mrs. Sharley? Nami and the others asked strangely. She didn't predict the future, but experienced the real future. Marco said. But he didn't know how to explain it. At this time, Inulan stood up. Come with me, when we arrive at the Whale Forest, the old cat and I will explain some things to you in detail, if you don't really go to see some things, you can't believe it. It just so happens that the road sign history text you need is also in the Whale Forest. Cat Viper smiled with a pipe in his mouth. What is it? It's mysterious. Nami couldn't help but said. I'm a little curious, it's so interesting. Luffy looked excited. The more mysterious Inuarashi and the others were, the more interested Luffy was in what they were about to face. Inuarashi and Momomushi got up and walked towards the lush forest around the Fur Tribe Kingdom. The whale forest is in the middle of this lush forest. The distance is not too far. Wait until Luffy and the others come to a big tree that looks like a whale. Inuarashi and Nekomamushi came to a red road sign called Historical Text. Right in front of this red road sign history article, there is a strange devil fruit, which is looming and seems to disappear at any time. As this devil fruit, Sanji said somewhat uncertainly. Not because of anything else, but because the current appearance of this devil fruit is too mysterious. A normal devil fruit, no matter how powerful its inner ability is, but when it is a devil fruit, it does not have any external performance. It is a fruit that looks a little special. At 2h at carat at plus. But the devil fruit in front of them is obviously beyond common sense. Yes, this is the legendary fruit of time. After eating it, you can become a time traveler. A fruit of time. How is it possible? Although the ability of devil fruit, there are also conceptual types, full of various mysterious powers. But if you want to talk about time travel, it would be too challenging for people's cognition. Marco can testify to this. CGAC, Inuarashi said lightly. Ah, Marco nodded. About 30 years ago, when Odin first joined our pirate group, he once saved a woman who claimed to have come to this world 800 years ago. When the woman was named Tianyu, she was a time person who ate the fruit of time. In order to go to Wano Kuni, she traveled through time and space continuously and came to Wano Kuni in the future. That's right, it's Master Shi who left the prophecy about the future. After she left the language for the future, she died because of her injuries. Her body turned into this fruit of time. Inuarashi and Momomushi had sad expressions on their faces, as if they had returned to that time 18 years ago. Master Shi, who was covered in blood and was seriously injured and on the verge of death, appeared in front of them. Although he was seriously injured, his gaze was firm. The future has been tampered with. The changes in the future I saw were 20 years later, but a mysterious force has tampered with the future. Momonosuke and Kinemon may have been lost in the time and space of the future, and they may also come according to the established time, but at that time, everything is too late. Inuarashi, Nekomushi, you two must remember that 18 years later, the real change will come, and the person who will change the world will set foot on the island of Zou. At that time, you will assist him with all your strength and help him make the greatest change. After I die, the fruit of time will stay here. The fruit's ability is too powerful, but it is also full of uncertainties. You must tell them that it is not a last resort. Do not eat this fruit. Quote, this fruit of time has no effect on the present, but only in the future, so keep it well, this may be the last guarantee. We must wait for that person to appear. That person will definitely bring true liberation to this world. The unfulfilled ideals of 800 years ago will shine in this era. There was an unimaginable firmness in Tianyushi's eyes. She seemed to have completely seen the distant future, the dawn that a large number of people in this world have been looking forward to and waiting for 800 years. This is what Master Shi said at the end. Inuarashi and Nekomushi had tears in their eyes. They were rescued twice by Odin, once when they were just going to Wano Kuni, and once when Odin was cooked in a frying pan at the end. They failed to protect Lord Hershey. It's just that after Master Shi sent Momonosuke to the future, they fled back to Zou. As a result, a few days later, I saw Shi Tianren who traveled through time and came to Zuying at the last moment. Learned this last thing. The historical text of the road sign, rubbing it with you, and this fruit of time, we will also entrust it to you for safekeeping, including the hundreds of thousands of warriors in our entire Fur Kingdom, all of which are supported by you. So, Straw Hat Boy, bring great changes to this era. Cat Viper picked up the fruit of time on the ground and stretched it towards Luffy. No one spoke at the moment. Perhaps it was because Tien Yushi was too shocked as a time-traveling ability user, or because she didn't want to disturb Luffy's judgment. Luffy looked at Inuarashi and Momoshiro in front of him, and at the fruit of time in their hands. As long as he nods now, he can get hundreds of thousands of Fur Tribe fighters, and he can get this possibly the most mysterious and precious fruit in the sea. Even as long as he wants to, he can use this power to fight against the entire world government, and there is a great possibility of becoming the real ugliness of the world. But, he is physically strong, has the ability to release static electricity, and has comprehensive combat power. In this world, I am afraid that it is second only to the Kingdom of Giants Al Buff. All other countries have. Luffy folded his hands on his chest, with a heartless smile on his face, as if he was very proud, and said loudly. It is impossible to compete with our military strength. Quote. Did you really refuse? Do you really understand the power of the Fur Kingdom? Jinbei laughed loudly. I want to be the freest person in this sea, that's all, I will not be bound by these things. I don't know what change is, and I don't know how to change the world. I'm not Luo Jia, I'm just Monkey D. Luffy, the Straw Hat Kid. I want to become One Piece. Everyone is so flattered by Luffy. Zoro shook his head, as if he had expected it. Luffy said with a smile on his face. I reject. This is really something only you can do. This is not Inuarashi bragging about himself. There are hundreds of thousands of people in the Fur Clan Kingdom, and all the people are soldiers. And everyone's strength is not weak, even the largest country in the world has the same military strength as them, and the individual strength is completely incomparable with them. As expected of Brother Luffy, he can always make such unexpected choices. Inulin and Maomushi were completely numb by Luffy's refusal, and quickly said, "There are hundreds of thousands of people in the entire Fur Tribe Kingdom, and each of our Fur Tribe members is a natural battlefield." Surprised by the sharp refusal. Chapter 119. Winner, Sakazuki. Advertise here. In terms of top combat power, they may not be able to. But in terms of military strength, once a war starts, they will be the strongest forces. Even the forces under the command of the four emperors cannot be compared with them. Not to mention, if it is under the moon, their moon lion form can burst out with power that makes the whole world look at it, even the master clan is not their opponent. No matter how strong you are, I will refuse. What I want is adventure, banquet, not change, or other, troublesome things. Luffy said with some distress. Although you are friends with Momomushi and Inuarashi, I can't agree to this request, because I can't do it. It's different from Vivi's time. Inuarashi and Nekomushi are not yet buddies. Moreover, Vivi is already in a desperate state, and the awareness of risking his life is different from that of Mao Viper. Luffy is very clear that Nekomamushi and Inuarashi need a promise for the future. But Luffy can't promise the future to anyone, including his partners. Every partner has set foot on this ocean with due awareness. Everyone has everyone's awareness. If you want to change, then go to sea with the greatest awareness. Luffy giggled. This is the rule of this sea. You're such a different man, Straw Hat. Momomushi and Inuarashi looked at each other, looked at Luffy, and said with an inexplicable expression. Forget it, we don't need any promises from you, maybe your future actions will naturally bring changes to this world, and this fruit of time is also given to you. Don't refuse, this is not our thing, but something that Mr. Shi gave to you. Cat Viper stuffed the fruit of time directly into Luffy's arms, and said with a smile. However, what I want to remind you is that time should not be eaten lightly. Although Lord Shi has already explained the danger of this fruit, I think I still need to remind you. If you eat this fruit, it will not improve your current strength. It will only continue to travel to the future, and it cannot be reversed, and it may be lost in time. Therefore, you must think about it. When you have the ability to choose this fruit. Cat Viper reminded with a serious face. I see. Luffy nodded. He didn't have much interest in this fruit. If Nami and the others are interested in this fruit, they can eat it. After rubbing the history of road signs, nothing happened, it was still a banquet, a banquet. The happiness of pirates lies at the banquet. During Luffy's merry party on Zou. On an unnamed island in this world, the top battle in the sea has come to an end. The unnamed island of the Calm Belt. At this moment, this large island has completely turned into a world of magma and frost. In the hot magma, panting heavily, Akainu climbed out of the lava sea. At this moment, he has large areas of frostbite all over his body. Even if he is a lava fruit capable user, he can't get rid of these injuries. A large amount of blood dripped from his face, gushing out from those hideous wounds. However, compared to the miserable Akainu, in front of him is the even more miserable Aokiji, who is lying on the ice. His right leg has been swallowed by hot magma, below the knee, all disappeared. The location of the wound was frozen with ice. Even Logia's monsters couldn't recover from injuries of this level. Moreover, his completely naked upper body has large areas of burn marks. At this moment, Aokiji has completely lost consciousness. These two former top admirals, because of the position of marshal, have fought to such a degree, such a tragic degree, if it is spread, it will definitely make all the Marines feel terrified. Why go to such lengths, idiot? Akainu was panting heavily, his gloves had become red and bright, like molten iron. At this moment, face Aokiji who has passed out. With just one punch, he was able to know the opponent's life. But in the face of this comrade in arms who once fought side by side, Akainu still hesitated. The magma on his gloves dripped and stood upright for a long time, but he still didn't hit the final blow. So stupid, Akainu cursed. Then step on the moonwalk and leave the island. On the sea far away from the island, there is a marine warship docked. It is a warship that has been waiting here for a long time, waiting for the result of the battle between Akainu and Aokiji. Ask for flowers. After all, it is absolutely impossible for a strong player of their level to fight, phone bugs or something. It's Sakazuki Admiral. On the deck of the warship, marine soldiers saw a man coming on moonwalk in the distance. Although his whole body was covered with blood, but with that determined look, there was no doubt that Sakazuki stood at the end. The phone bug of the headquarters. Akainu landed on the warship, his cold eyes swept across, the strong smell of blood all over his body made the marine soldiers break out in cold sweat, and he quickly handed over a phone bug. I'm Sengoku, is the result out? The phone bug connected, and Sengoku's serious voice came from the opposite side. I'm Sakazuki. Akainu's deep voice sounded. There was a brief silence on the other side of the phone bug. Sengoku paused for a moment, then said, I see. After finishing speaking, he hung up the phone directly. He didn't ask about Aokiji's situation, the winner is martial, the loser is speechless, this has been agreed before. It should have been settled long ago. He is very clear that with Kuzan's strength, he is not Sakazuki's opponent. The last marshal is Sakazuki. It really is Sakazuki. He could almost guess the reason why Kuzan chose the marshal position so resolutely this time. In fact, he had persuaded Kuzan before going to war. For this apprentice who was almost single-handedly brought out, Garp knew Kuzan's character all too well. He is already too lost in the justice of Marine, he needs to change the whole Marine. However, he obviously underestimated Aokiji's will, and he fought resolutely to the death. This is his last chance. The loser isn't just Aokiji. Garp also doesn't know what folly Kuzan will do when he loses his last hope for Marine. No matter who it is, the current Marine only needs a marshal, be it Sakazuki or Kuzan. Garp, who was on vacation at Windmill Village, received a call from Sengoku. I hope you don't do stupid things, Lien Zan. His expression is relatively calm. It also includes him, and Garp, the Marine executives who support Aokiji. Sengoku sighed softly, but quickly regained his composure. Chapter 120 Shock Fruit Birth. Advertise here. The news that Akainu became the new Marine Marshal spread throughout the world like a hurricane. The rise of the new Marshal of Marine will, after all, bring about the balance of the entire world. After all, after so many years of development, Marine can almost represent most of the power of the world government to a certain extent. Under the management of former Marshal Sengoku, Hero Garp and other strong Marines of the older generation. Marine's strength is getting stronger and stronger, even the world government cannot completely ignore their ideas. Just like this martial battle, Kuzan would have no chance at all if it was the previous world government's control over Marine. But in this competition, even if Aokiji loses, he at least has the right to compete fairly. This is the right to speak of the senior executives of the older generation of Marine. The world government's control over Marine has dropped to a very low level. As for Akainu, who controls such a powerful force, his will is destined to affect the next actions of the entire Marine, and even the changes in the situation of the entire world. Akainu with a strong wrist may really provoke an all-out war between Marine and pirates. And along with the news that Akainu became the Marine Marshal, an equally shocking news also spread. Admiral Aokiji, after failing to compete for the position of Marshal, resigned from the Admiral title of Marine and completely quit Marine. Although this news is not as shocking as Akainu's becoming the Marine Marshal brought to the world. But there was still quite a stir. As Marine Admiral, Aokiji may be the first admiral in the history of Marine to withdraw from Marine. The departure of such a supreme combat power is an unbearable pain even for Marine. Especially when Aokiji's fruit ability is very strategic. In this case, Marine's power expanded through the world conscription is not so strong. If you don't count the retired older generation powerhouses. There is almost no change between the current Marine and its previous strength. One field marshal is retired, one admiral is gone, 2 admirals are conscripted, and that's all. Moreover, compared to Aokiji's impressive record and strength, the 2 new admirals recruited are unknown existences, and no one knows whether their combat power can fill the vacancy left by Aokiji. No one knew that the turmoil in Marine was actually just a precursor to a huge wave. After Sengoku announced his retirement and Akainu took office as the new Marine Marshal, Akainu made a high-profile announcement that he would transfer naval headquarters from the G1 branch in the first half of the Grand Line. This also means that the Marine headed by Akainu will put all of its combat power on New World. To compete head-to-head with the increasingly powerful pirates in New World. In this tense atmosphere, a big bomb that was enough to detonate the current situation directly blew up a huge storm in the Uzumaki Central Store of all forces. The king of Dressrosa, Shichibukai Doflamingo, is going to hold a gladiatorial fight for the whole world. The winner can win the strongest devil fruit shock fruit. Yes, it is the strongest man in the world, devil fruit of 4 Emperors Whitebeard, who claims to be able to destroy the world. That bastard Doflamingo. In the Marine conference room, Akainu's gloves lit up like hot molten iron, and puffs of black smoke rose from the entire table. Akainu had a cigar in his mouth and had a hideous scar on his face. Although he was the winner of the martial battle, Aokiji still left him a lot of damage. Akainu was extremely angry at this moment. In his opinion, Doflamingo or Shichibukai, such a big event, should contact their Marine as soon as possible. Instead of making such a situation that detonated the situation in the sea on its own. Has the response to the dismissal of Doflamingo Shichibukai not yet come down? Akainu whispered. Fujitora, one of the admirals who came from the world conscript, smiled. One of the important purposes of joining Marine is to abolish the Shichibukai system. And this proposal quickly got the support of most Marines. In fact, although the Shichibukai system largely balances the power of the sea, it is for the vast majority of Marines who dream of expelling pirates and maintaining justice. The Shichibukai system is a disgrace. Originally, this system was proposed by the world government, and the direct appointment of Shichibukai was also done by the government. At the very beginning, this system was opposed by Marine's top management. It was just rejected by the 5 elders above. And now, it is the best opportunity to abolish the Shichibukai system. After the Summit War, the Shichibukai system has existed in name only. Damn it, those bastards up there 807. Here we come, Marshal Sakazuki, the order from above is here. As for Sengoku, who was eating senbei, it was as if he was heard. Anyway, he was already unhappy with the 5 elders above, but he was still the Marshal of Marine before, and he had to be responsible for Marine. It's finally here. On Akainu's serious face, a smile couldn't help but appear. 10 warships set off, targeting Dressrosa, Yishao, Aramaki, Pelusolino, and Mr. Sengoku, you go to Dressrosa. Now, it doesn't matter if he assassinates the position of marshal, and even if he is interested, he can still yell at celestial dragons and 5 elders like Garp, and nothing will happen. The only remaining Doflamingo and Bartholomew Kuma, as well as the Pirate Queen, could not play any role in balancing forces in the face of New World's new 4 emperors. Akainu's eyes seemed to be clouded, and he said calmly. A Marine liaison officer opened the door of the conference room and spoke excitedly. So soon, Marine made Shichibukai's abolition proposal to the top. Make sure to take the shock fruit. When necessary, you can initiate a massacre. Akainu couldn't help but cursed in a low voice. Almost all the famous big pirates have formed their own alliance. 5 elders want to use Sakazuki as a knife in their hands, but what they don't know is that holding this fiery knife is not that simple, and they might burn themselves. However, if the Shichibukai system is not cancelled, Marine will not be able to take action against Doflamingo, nor can it guarantee that shock fruit will not be taken by others. The 5 elders directly ordered that the Shichibukai system be abolished. Instead, Akainu, with his violent temper, is estimated to be treated by the 5 elders soon. But in the current sea, there are almost no pirates who can serve as Shichibukai. It's just that 5 elders didn't know what they were thinking, and they haven't given an answer yet. Chapter 121 Beyond the Carnival on Top. Advertise here. Hey, Sakazuki, isn't it too much? Dressrosa is a franchise country. Sengoku frowned and said, Call Buster, it means that the whole of Dressrosa may be razed to the ground. This is not a small island, this is an island inhabited by a country. Coupled with the fact that it is a member country, the impact will be very bad. A member country? No, that is the territory of the pirate Doflamingo. The king of the member country of the world government is not a pirate. Akainu obviously exploited a loophole. In fact, the territory of Shichibukai has no connection with the franchise countries, just like the 9 snakes under the command of the Empress Boa Hancock, which does not belong to the franchise countries. It's just a non-aggression agreement with the world government. As for Dressrosa, it is a member country of the 8 classics, and it is also one of the countries under the command of the 20 kings who once founded the world government. But that line is now very blurred. Because King Liku gave up the throne to the former Shichibukai Doflamingo, strictly speaking, this is indeed a pirate territory. Especially now that Doflamingo's Shichibukai status has been revoked. And, you should be very clear, Mr. Sengoku, the danger of that shock fruit. Akainu's words made Sengoku fall into a moment of silence. The danger of shock fruit, he knows better than anyone else, in the sea, it is a fruit that is completely unreasonable. It is no exaggeration to say that it will destroy the world. With Whitebeard's ability, he can easily create a tsunami that submerges a large island. Sengoku is actually very clear. Compared to some pirates who have no bottom line, Whitebeard is the kind of person who has benevolence and righteousness, but he is a person who has no bottom line. Shock Fruit's ability will bring huge disasters to this world, it is the ability to easily destroy a country. But, Sengoku only hesitated for a moment, but the justice in his heart overcame the fear of Shock Fruit. No but, Mr. Sengoku, now that I am the marshal, you can opt out of this operation. Akainu said very firmly. I see. Sengoku nodded silently, but did not choose to quit. Had he been there, he might have been able to stop the Buster call when the situation was most critical. After a while, 10 warships, carrying 4 of the highest marines, headed for Dressrosa. At the same time, New World. Hey, Doflamingo, is your wife dead? Golden Lion was smoking a cigar, with a calm face, and said bloody words. In front of him is a phone bug projection, and Doflamingo is in one of the projections. And next to Doflamingo, there are many screens, each of which is a big figure in the underground world. The underground forces are intricate, and the information network of the underground world held by the 4 emperors covers the vast majority of people who are active in the underground world. Among them are Morgans, Queen of the Pleasure District, and Golden Emperor Gilder Tezzolo, who have identities on the surface. Under the identity of Doflamingo Shichibukai, he is actually a well-known existence in the underground world. Of course, no matter which world it is in, the one with the biggest fist has the highest status, and the king of the underground world is undoubtedly an existence at the 4 emperors level. The reason why Golden Lion threatens Doflamingo is also because Shock Fruit's involvement is too huge. Shock Fruit is not a simple fruit, even those top Logia fruits are dispensable in the eyes of a Golden Lion. If Doflamingo had the top-level Logia, or some other so-called phantom beast, Golden Lion would not react at all. But that was Shock Fruit, the fruit that could destroy the world. Even if its power is inferior to Ancient Weapon, it is still at the level of destroying the island. It is impossible for a man like Golden Lion to let go of this level of fruit ability. Now you only have 2 options, Doflamingo. One is to hand over the Shock Fruit directly, and the other is to go to Dressrosa in person and get the Shock Fruit after finishing you. Come on, let's choose. Golden Lion spoke calmly and domineeringly with a cigar in his mouth. Just like the choice Bigmom gave the Fishmen Island, he has this ability and strength. The dominance of a strong man standing at the top of the sea will not give anyone the slightest room to resist. The domineering spirit of the Golden Lion seemed to be transmitted directly to the heads of all the underground forces through the screen of the phone bug, so that everyone couldn't help but shut up at this moment and dared not speak loudly. Hey, What a domineering spirit, worthy of being a legend of the old era, but now is a new era. Shiki, your era has passed. If you want shock fruit, come and get it. Come to Dressrosa and the real one touch the new era. Doflamingo stretched out his hands frantically, and said with a smile. Madman. This is the only thought in the mind of all the underground forces present at the moment. Dare to say such a thing in front of the Golden Lion, Doflamingo is the lunatic of the lunatics. This is the man who stands at the top of the sea, the man who used to stand alongside Whitebeard and Luogia, the man who even 4 Emperors Kaido and Bigmom have to succumb to his courage for the time being. He is really capable of obliterating a Shichibukai directly in this world. However, what they don't know is that the current Doflamingo is indeed at the end of the road. A man like him who is inherently crazy has decided to live in this desperate situation. Use a fruit, use Dressrosa to pry the sea, which is already a rough situation. You're very nice, boy. Until now, Golden Lion has not let go of any harsh words, but everyone is very clear that this man standing at the apex of the old era, I am afraid that he is about to make a devastating attack on Doflamingo. Come on, with shock fruit, the world's most best, strong fruit, as the endpoint of the final competition, let's have a carnival in the new era, and you don't have to worry about me breaking my promise. This gladiatorial fight and the final prize, shock fruit, I have given full authority to Mr. Buller Faith Tower. Doflamingo said with a laugh. His reputation in the underground world is not high, and he himself is very aware of this, so he found a really crazy person with high reputation to hold this carnival gladiatorial fight. Saw, everyone, let's have the biggest war carnival in the history of the world. The scale of this carnival, with a country as the stage, will definitely exceed the summit war. Come on, let's carnival, let's fight, let's surpass history. A short, middle-aged uncle said loudly during the video party in the basement. He stood on the table full of food, kicking the food on the table and splashing it everywhere, like a madman. Chapter 122. Yuta nearing death, Shank's choice. Advertise here. Crazy man, laughing wildly. But when everyone saw him, they all had dignified faces and headaches. Even this group of big shots in the underground world couldn't help but change their faces when they saw this man. Buller Faith Tower, you are still alive. Haven't you disappeared long ago? It turned out to be this lunatic, Doflamingo and Buller Faith Tower, these two lunatics, actually teamed up. If this man appears, troublesome things will follow one after another. Buller Faith Tower, War Machine, Festival Master, the craziest carnival typing. Although this guy is not very strong, but the bounty is very high, because he is a great threat to the world. His powerful planning ability, intelligence ability, conspiracy arrangement ability and his intelligence have allowed him to provoke countless huge wars all over the world. He is a veritable war criminal. Of course, in his words, war is a carnival, a festival, and he wants to launch a grand carnival festival that will sweep the entire world. Not only the world government, even the pirates are very troubled by this kind of person, because this kind of lunatic has no so-called 520 camp, he is just a lunatic who simply obeys his own desires. Wars, festivals, just like the world destroyer burned the world back then. This kind of lunatic is a huge threat to both the world government and the Marine. When the Buller Faith Tower disappeared in the world, in addition to the spy organizations of the world government, there were also many big shots from the underground forces. But now, this kind of person is reborn, holding the shock fruit chip in his hand. It's hard to imagine what kind of frenzy he will set off. Such a conspirator, even if he has no chips in his hand, can stir up storms in the sea. It is hard to imagine what level of war he can start when he has a chip that can leverage all the forces in the entire sea. However, after the Faith Tower appeared, the eyes of many bigwigs in the underground world have lit up. If they didn't have any interest in Doflamingo's wrestling before, then now, his interest has increased. Because although Faith Tower is a lunatic, his reputation is among the top in the entire world. Especially in the CGEF festival he held, every time he took out a huge bargaining chip, but in the end he did take it out. This kind of person has no desires of ordinary people, his desires and goals are just things he is obsessed with, but shock fruit and other things that can attract the attention of the world. For this kind of people, there is not much attraction history. With the credit guarantee, the coveting of shock fruit naturally appeared in everyone's mind. Far away in a corner of the new world, on an island full of blizzards all year round. In the warm cave, a bonfire was burning. Ben Beckman held a phone bug in his hand, as if he was listening for some information. After hanging up the phone bug, he looked at the red waste. Head, it's already confirmed that the shock fruit thrown by Doflamingo this time is real, and he teamed up with Buller Faith Tower. Ben Beckman also has a certain understanding of the Buller Faith Tower, and he is quite recognized for his credibility. How about, shall we join the competition for shock fruit? Buller Faith Tower. That troublesome man's reputation is indeed reliable, but we don't have to go, shock fruit already has an owner. Shank's eyes are deep. Are you talking about Luffy? They are really strong now, they seem to have surpassed us. Head, you may have some trouble getting the big secret treasure. Lajaloo gnawed at the meat leg in his hand and said with a smile. Even the members of the Red Hair Pirates have to admit that in the recent major operations of Luffy's Straw Hat Pirates, it is obvious that their strength has completely surpassed their old Four Emperors group. The strength of the Straw Hat Pirates has improved so fast that all the existences standing at the top of the sea can't help but be shocked. Based on his relationship with the Whitebeard Pirates, as well as Luffy's personality, whether it's to join in the fun, or to get back this so-called Whitebeard relic, they will indeed make a move. Ben Beckman analyzed. It's just that I don't know how much combat power the Golden Lion and Marine will deploy. If Marine and Golden Lion have mobilized most of their combat power, the three-way melee, even with Luffy's strength, will not be able to easily win the fruit. Head, are we going to help Luffy? Usopp said. Whether their Red Hair Pirates have a very good relationship with the Straw Hat Pirates or the Whitebeard Pirates. If you make a move this time, it is reasonable. Help. We are competitors, not babysitters. Don't relax too much. Shanks said helplessly. Although he bet his arm on New World, his dream is also a great secret treasure. He's not going to be Luffy's babysitter. Also, we have more important things to do now. A worried look appeared on Shanks' face, and he spread out his hands. A life card in his hand was slowly burning. Under normal circumstances, the life card will not have obvious burning phenomenon. Whose life card is this? Is it a serious illness or poisoning? How could it burn so fast? This is Yuta's. After Shanks finished speaking, the smiles of Ben Beckman and the others disappeared instantly. It can be seen that he cherishes this daughter. Unless it is about to die, the life card will be burned. Back then, he was able to resist the infamy of destroying the country for Wuta. Although the burning speed of this life card is not fast now, it is obvious that if the burning speed continues, Yuta may not be able to survive 3 phases. Uta is Shanks' daughter, and is very much adored throughout their Red Hair Pirates. Shanks looked at the direction of the life card with deep eyes, and said in his heart. This is Yuta's. How could it be? Isn't she famous as a singer and living a good life? How could it be? Shanks looked a little ugly. What happened? Head. Shanks' eyes are firm and determined. It can be said that if it wasn't for the incident that happened in Ashlia that year, Yuta should have grown up happily in this 4 Emperors regiment as a trainee crew member of the Red Hair Pirates. Yuta, wait for me. Lajalu couldn't help asking. I don't know, but we must find Guanta as soon as possible. The life card reflects a person's vitality, and it is impossible for the life card to burn under normal circumstances. And now, he is also going to save his most cherished daughter.